in prison. I develop mechas to break out. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326, Zhou Yang's Actions. As the first global science conference of great commemorative significance, in order to promote its influence, all TV programs around the world were suspended, and only the science conference was broadcast live. In the virtual space, all games were suspended, and a special live broadcast channel was opened. The number of people watching the live broadcast was naturally astonishingly high. There are so many scientists. Yeah, it's a pity that I don't know them all. That's normal. These scientists are dedicated to contributing to the country, and they are not like those celebrities who show up in public. They are the real unsung heroes and the idols that we should respect and admire the most. There are so many foreign scientists, and are they also famous? That's normal. There are so many scientists around the world. Who of them can come this time is not a top scientist who has made outstanding contributions and great achievements in related fields. It's no exaggeration to say that almost all living Nobel Prize winners are here. I heard that the country is going to prepare an Academy of Sciences. This is a rhythm of gathering scientists from all over the world. It's awesome. I just don't know who will be the dean of this Academy of Sciences. Do I need to ask this? It must be Mr. Zhou. Let me ask you, who else in the world is qualified to suppress so many top scientists? That's right, Mr. Zhou is a versatile person. It's no exaggeration to say that he is the one who has dragged our country's ed to its current level. No one else dares to sit in the position of dean except him. At the science conference, scientists kept appearing from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning. There were 4,000 to 5,000 scientists present. Even so, only the top group of people were invited. At 10 o'clock in the morning, another red flag car slowly arrived. 2 special agents got off the car at the first time, walked forward to open the door, and a young man got out of the car. Seeing this person, the scene instantly erupted with huge exclamations. It's Mr. Zhou. Mr. Zhou is here. The people watching the live broadcast were also very excited. I haven't seen Mr. Zhou for a while, and I don't know what he is busy with recently. What can you be busy with? Of course, he is busy with big things. Do you think Mr. Zhou is like you and me, playing games every day? Zhou Yang raised his hand, smiled and waved to the camera lens, and then walked up the stairs with his head held high. As Zhou Yang walked up the stairs step by step, the soldiers holding the ceremonial guns on the left and right of the stairs all made the gesture of holding the gun in unison. Only Zhou Yang can enjoy this kind of courtesy. Zhou Yang walked up the steps slowly, stood on the last step, turned around, and waved to the camera again. This scene was captured by the camera and recorded in history forever. Entering the conference site, the spacious venue was already full of people. The moment Zhou Yang entered, everyone stood up and began to applaud. Just for the scientific research results Zhou Yang has made, it is not an exaggeration to say that Zhou Yang is the god of science. Zhou Yang walked to the center of the stage with a calm face, waved his hand, and motioned everyone to sit down. After everyone sat down, Zhou Yang took the headset handed over by the staff and turned to face the crowd. Everyone's eyes were focused on Zhou Yang. All the cameras were also aimed at Zhou Yang. There are countless billions of people around the world who are looking at Zhou Yang through the camera at this time. Zhou Yang took a deep breath, not because of stage fright, but because of emotion. From today, the history of human scientific development will open a new page. After a light cough, Zhou Yang said, originally, according to the process of the conference, the establishment of the Academy of Sciences will be announced first, and then some specific regulations, personnel appointments and dismissals will be announced. But these are political matters, and we are all engaged in scientific research. I think that scientific research should be more pure, and political matters should be avoided. So this process will not be carried out. Anyway, I'm the dean. If anyone here disagrees, you can raise it now. Zhou Yang looked at the crowd. Everyone present laughed. Objection? Who would object? And who dares to object? And with Zhou Yang's qualifications and status, he is really the best choice for the dean of this Academy of Sciences. Okay, since no one objects, let's move on to the next stage and talk about the next main tasks of our Academy of Sciences and tell ordinary people around the world what changes will happen in their lives in the future. Zhou Yang nodded, snapped his fingers, and a huge holographic projection appeared behind him. The scientists on the scene instantly became energetic and sat up straight. No one expected that Zhou Yang would be so direct and began to announce the next research and development work of the Academy of Sciences. Only Li Bingsun and others understood Zhou Yang's character. He was a pure scientist who never cared about political matters, but only scientific research. In the background, Li Xianshu was also present, looking at Zhou Yang on the screen with a smile. In his opinion, the most important process was actually skipped by Zhou Yang. This behavior is really enough for Zhou Yang. And the ordinary people who watched the live broadcast also became serious. Zhou Yang said that he would tell them what kind of changes will happen in their lives in the future. Ordinary people will not say it, they are more concerned about their own lives, and entrepreneurs from various countries are also extremely serious, fearing to miss any word Zhou Yang said. Because it has been proved that what Zhou Yang develops and pays attention to, then what will be the outlet next? Companies like Tencent, Alibaba, Google, Apple and other foreign companies have all stopped all work, and all senior executives have gathered to listen to Zhou Yang's speech attentively. At the scientific conference, a holographic projection appeared, which was a star map of the solar system. Zhou Yang said as he walked, "The Academy of Sciences I envision should have a project-oriented structure. According to different research goals, special project teams will be established, and relevant scientists will be transferred to the project teams. After the research and development is completed, the project teams will be disbanded, and then the scientists will enter the next project team. The whole process is mainly based on specific practicality. Of course, theory is equally important, but it is also in the form of setting up project teams, regardless of nationality, to concentrate all forces to conduct project research. This is the research method I envision. Next, I will formally talk about our first important large-scale scientific research project after the establishment of the Academy of Sciences." Pointing to the solar system behind him, Zhou Yang said, "In the next year, we will build a small space base on the moon. It has a diameter of 2 kilometers and a semicircular structure. At the same time, we will build a large base with a diameter of 10 kilometers on Mars within 3 years. Inside the base, the temperature and humidity will be constant, and climate change will be artificially simulated to build a city suitable for human habitation. A space city." Chapter 327 Star Destroyer. At the White House, Pear looked surprised. "I didn't expect that he really planned to build a space base, and also a space city with a diameter of 10 kilometers. This is too exaggerated." When Zhou Yang and I had a video call before, Zhou Yang said that he wanted to build a space base on Mars. At that time, Pear thought that Zhou Yang would build a small base or something, like the International Space Station. But who would have thought that Zhou Yang would play such a big game, with a diameter of 10 kilometers? It was impossible to imagine how huge this project was. "You must pay close attention to this plan for me. It would be best if you can join in and provide funds. I hope that this space base will have a place for our country." Pear said immediately. "Got it." The White House assistant nodded vigorously. Pear suddenly realized that, although joining the Confederation would result in the economy and military being controlled by Country Z, there were actually many benefits. At least in terms of technology, it would no longer be strangled by Country Z. There were also such large-scale research projects. If it were in the past, Country M would never be able to participate, but now, there is a great chance to participate. And there was a lot of discussion on the internet. Space bases, and on the moon and Mars, this is too exaggerated. That's right, with a diameter of 10 kilometers, it's almost the size of a city. Are we going to build a city on Mars, like we did with Kaiming City? Exaggerated. I don't think so. Think about it, Arzu and Neon can reach the moon in minutes, and it will only take an hour to reach Mars. In this way, it won't be difficult to transport materials and build a base on Mars. I don't know if I will have the opportunity to work in a space base in the future. I'm a level 6 welder. When I can go to space, my life will be worth it. A professional bricklayer is here. I don't know how much money I can make working in space for a day, but at least 1,000. Entrepreneurs from various countries were also shocked at this time. Tencent, Ma Huateng pushed his glasses, a sharp light flashed in his eyes, and he slapped the table and said, "It is foreseeable that the Mars space base will definitely become a hotspot in the future. Go and develop a game for the development of the Mars base, and then the hegemony of Mars. If there is a similar game template on the market, buy it for me at a high price, and then try to launch it within 10 days. Pinduoduo." Mr. Huang slapped the table and said, "Quick, launch an activity of mining on Mars, and building a space base for me now, and the speed must be fast. We must not let our competitors get ahead of us." Tesla in the United States, Musk excitedly slapped his thigh and pointed at the big screen and said, "See, even Mr. Zhou is preparing to build a space base. Go, prepare a PPT for me, saying that we are also preparing to build a permanent living base on the moon. I will take it to Wall Street to attract investment and fulfill my space dream." At the scientific conference, many scientists were also whispering, "A space base is being built on Mars. A hemispherical base with a diameter of 10 kilometers is too incredible. Yes, there is a huge temperature difference between day and night on Mars, and there is strong radiation and particle impact in the universe. The climate conditions on Mars itself are not very good. It is extremely difficult to build a base in such a harsh environment. The shell material must be extremely strong, and it must be resistant to high and low temperatures and strong radiation. Besides, a hemispherical body with a diameter of 10 kilometers has a surface area of more than 300 square kilometers. If it is covered entirely with metal, it may weigh hundreds of millions of tons. The difficulty of building such a base is too great. Many scientists are experts and can immediately see the difficulties in building a space base." On the stage, Zhou Yang ignored the discussions below. The original plan was to build a small base on Mars, but the world situation has changed greatly, and with global integration, what else can be said? Just go for the big one. On the moon, build a small base to collect helium-3 and a near-Earth communication relay station. On Mars, we can build a large base directly as a springboard to enter deep space, and as a defense line outside the Earth. Anyway, a super large mine of 120 element has been discovered in the M country, which is enough to support the construction of 2 bases. As for the funds, there is no need to worry, just crowdfunding. As long as Zhou Yang proposes to cooperate with various countries, they will send money eagerly. In Zhou Yang's initial idea, he did not think about monopolizing the entire space base. It is no problem to leave a part of such a large base for other countries. Now they are all confederate countries, and they are all younger brothers. It is impossible for the big brother to eat meat and soup. He should also share some with the younger brother. The relevant technology of the entire space base has broken through about 70%. So next month, specifically December 1st, the construction plan of the lunar space base will be officially launched. It will take 3 to 6 months to complete the construction of the base shell, and then the internal construction will be carried out. During the period of building the shell, I will organize several project teams to complete the last 30% of technical difficulties. Many scientists present were shocked again. I thought this space base was just a vision and expectation of Zhou Yang. Who would have thought that Zhou Yang had already completed 70% of the technical difficulties and would be ready to build the outer shell on the 1st of next month. This is too fast. Zhou Yang didn't care about that and continued. The construction of the space base will lay a solid foundation for our exploration of deep space, but our ultimate goal is to go into deep space, so we will start a huge project next. That's it. Zhou Yang raised his head slightly, and the holographic projection behind him changed immediately. A huge, pitch-black cone-shaped starship slowly appeared in front of everyone. This is it. Li Xianshu in the backstage stood up, staring at the huge starship on the screen, his eyes full of shock. Zhou Yang said he wanted to build a space base. Li Xianshu knew it, but Zhou Yang never said this thing in front of him. And many scientists at the scene also sat up in shock. Oh my god, is this a spaceship? Are we going to build this thing? The audience watching the live broadcast were also shocked, and their brains were blank. Is this a Star Destroyer? It seems so. Yes, it is definitely the Star Destroyer in Star Wars. I feel like Mr. Zhou just found a template and pulled it over for display. Has our technology developed to this point? We can directly build a star destroyer. What about the Death Star? How about transforming the moon and turning it into the ultimate weapon? You have watched too many movies, but this thing is really terrifying. If it is really built, it will be awesome. Chapter 328 Future Outlook. The shock of the governments of various countries was even greater. Pear stared at the huge starship on the screen with his eyes wide open like copper bells. He let out a long sigh after a long while and said to himself, fortunately. At this moment, Pear was extremely grateful that he had taken the lead and joined Country Z. Otherwise, in a few years, when Country Z developed a starship, if it attacked Country M, it would be no less than the aliens attacking Country M at the science conference. Zhou Yang waved his hand and motioned everyone to sit down. I heard many people say that this thing looks like a Star Destroyer in Star Wars. Now that I look at it, it really looks a bit like it, but the appearance is not important at all. The key is the technical difficulties of building this spaceship. Controlled nuclear fusion power, curvature engine, austenite superalloy shell, internal ecosystem, particle beam weapons, artificial intelligence. Zhou Yang raised the technical difficulties one by one. Every time he said a word, the starship in the holographic projection would be partially enlarged to show the internal structure. From this, it can be seen that Zhou Yang is not only imagining, but has really carried out design work. We have basically broken through these technical difficulties. As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar at the scene again. Before, everyone thought that the starship was too far away from them, but who knew that most of the relevant technical difficulties had been broken through. About 55% of the main technologies of this spaceship have been broken through, and the breakthroughs are basically core technologies. So while building the space base, we will also start the construction of the spaceship as soon as possible, and strive to complete the construction of the spaceship in mass production within 3 years. There was another sound of gasps at the scene. Mass production in 3 years. This tone is really extraordinary. This is a spaceship, a star destroyer. But thinking about the miracles Zhou Yang has created in the past few years, everyone feels that it is not impossible to build a star destroyer within 3 years. The specific time for the project to start will be soon. At that time, I hope that my colleagues present can work together to complete this project that concerns the future of all mankind. Everyone present stood up and applauded. Many people were even more excited. Being able to participate in such an epic project will definitely be remembered in history. Li Xianshu in the background came back to his senses and ran outside without saying a word. He had to report to his superiors. Spaceship. No one expected that Zhou Yang would play so big. Zhou Yang clapped his hands and the holographic projection disappeared. He said, "These 2 projects are the main tasks of the Academy of Sciences in the next 3 years. The completion of these 2 projects is of great significance to the development of mankind. It can be said that it has fundamentally changed human civilization. Before, we could only be called planetary civilization. Then next, we will enter interstellar civilization, and there will be huge changes in social forms and all aspects. For example, materials will be unprecedentedly abundant, and humans will gradually move towards communism. Physical labor will be completely replaced by robots. That's right, in the next few years, all kinds of robots will go to society in an all-round way and replace humans to complete production work. The 2nd generation mechas have all been launched, and the technology of robots can be said to have matured long ago, but it has always been promoted to a limited extent, and is only used within specific state-owned enterprises and some special industries. In terms of people's livelihood, only the Dabe robot has been launched. The purpose is to buffer and let society gradually transition to the era of robots. And now, the time is almost right. It is time to launch robots in an all-round way. Many scientists present did not react to Zhou Yang's words, but the audience in front of the TV reacted greatly. If robots are fully promoted to replace humans to complete production work, what will we do? We will all be unemployed. I was worried about this before, but I didn't expect that after a year or 2, it finally happened. It's over. How can we live in the future? Do we really have to play games in virtual space to make money? Now the bonus of making money from virtual games has long passed, and it's difficult to make money again. Fully promoting robots doesn't care about the lives of people like us at the bottom. On the scene, Zhou Yang continued, I think the biggest question for people watching the live broadcast now is that robots have replaced humans. What will happen to us humans? Will we lose our jobs? How will we live after we lose our jobs? First of all, we must make it clear that this is the only way for civilization to develop. The efficiency of machines is always higher than that of humans, so this step must be taken. Secondly, I think that in the future, humans should pay more attention to the development of spiritual civilization. While ensuring the basic welfare of society, they should constantly enrich their spiritual civilization. You can study further, study art, and engage in sports. The future of mankind should not be trapped in repetitive industrial production, but should give full play to human learning ability and create a more brilliant human civilization. Many scientists present frown slightly and fell into thought, and governments of various countries are also thinking seriously. Inside the White House, Perret frowned and thought for a while, then said, does he mean to provide basic welfare, guarantee living, and then everyone can focus on other aspects, such as research, entertainment, art, etc. The Secretary of State said that should be what he meant, but in this case, the existing social system, especially the capital business system, will be completely broken. The White House assistant opposite shook his head and said, not necessarily. Entrepreneurs are still entrepreneurs, but they have turned hired workers into hired robots. After the country guarantees basic living conditions, ordinary unemployed people will devote their energy to other aspects. Then the education industry will definitely have to invest heavily in the future. Perret slapped the table lightly and said, yes, the education industry, as well as art, entertainment and so on. These should all be our focus in the future. Don't focus on the economy anymore. Everyone nodded in agreement. What Zhou Yang said would be realized in the future, so policies must also change their focus. At the scene, Zhou Yang continued, at the same time, in the future, our attention will be focused on exploring deep space, developing cosmic resources, building resource planets in the universe, and conducting interstellar migration, etc. In other words, in the next 5 to 10 years, we will mainly develop interstellar civilization. Many reporters at the scene were writing furiously. What Zhou Yang said was the key point, and they had to write it down. And we will also usher in the future life, a city supported by high technology, just like Kaiming City. Many technologies will be promoted and fundamentally change our living environment. Kaiming City has been built for a long time, and many technologies have been verified. The country originally planned to apply some of these technologies to other large cities. In short, the City Upgrading and Transformation Plan. Chapter 329 F-35 Mode. The scientific conference lasted for more than 2 hours, and Zhou Yang also spoke for more than 2 hours. Starting from his own understanding of the future development of science and technology, he talked about the changes in future life and social changes. Zhou Yang did not talk in an empty way, but started from the specific reality. Sometimes, he would tell you clearly what the future world would be like, and then the specifics depended on your own understanding. Whether you can seize the opportunity depends on your ability. When there is a great social change like this, the old order is broken, and new norms are established. It is the easiest time to make a fortune, and change your destiny. Time is limited, and there are a lot of things to think about at the moment. I can't think of some things at the moment. I'll talk about them when I think of them. I'll look for a channel to express my views on the future. Zhou Yang stopped, waved to the staff in the distance, and asked for a bottle of water. Off stage, the scientists present stood up and applauded enthusiastically. The applause lasted for a long time. I have admired Mr. Zhao's name for a long time. Seeing him today, I can say that he is truly worthy of the name. He is really a god. An old man stood up with the help of others and applauded excitedly. The old man next to him smiled and said, Mr. Hung, there are not many people you can evaluate like this. Mr. Hung shook his head and said, no, you are wrong. I'm not qualified to evaluate Mr. Zhao. Although he is young, his contribution to the country and to womankind is, without exaggeration, greater than any other person in history. What is even more incredible is that he made so many contributions at the age of 30. He is not like us old guys who still have plenty of time to contribute to the country. Mr. Hong, you are not old either. You are only 70. According to Mr. Zhou, you can live another 50 years. The old man next to him said. Mr. Hong waved his hands and looked at Zhou Yang on the stage, saying, I dare not hope to live for 50 years, but if Mr. Zhou needs it, my old bones can still play a little role. Not only domestic scientists, but also foreign scientists were full of emotion. Mr. Zhou's vision is really too grand and extraordinary. Space bases and spacecraft are simply magical ideas. Milson, an academician of the Academy of Sciences, said with emotion. Standing next to him was academician Cole, vice president of the Royal Academy of Sciences of Country Y. He looked at Zhou Yang on the stage with envy and said, at this time, I'm reminded of a saying from Country Z, which is high-spirited and capable of pointing out the world. He is too young. With him around, I feel that we will never be able to surpass Country Z in science and technology. Milson next to him asked back, why should we surpass? Isn't it good now? The whole world has formed a confederation of nations, gathering all the power of mankind to make human civilization more glorious. We are scientists, not politicians. We don't participate in political affairs. Our goal is to pursue the truth of the world. Cole was slightly stunned. He never thought that Milson, who was born in Country M, would say such a thing, but he changed his mind, smiled calmly, and said no more. The science conference ended, but the impact of this science conference was far-reaching. The conference ended, but Zhou Yang's work did not end. He socialized with scientists from various countries and exchanged ideas. Zhou Yang didn't like such occasions, but he knew that this was basic social etiquette and was not unacceptable. After the social gathering, Li Xianshu found Zhou Yang. Let's have tea together. Zhou Yang had drunk a lot of wine and was just about to relax. The two of them sat down in the garden. The waiter served tea, and Zhou Yang took a sip, and then he felt a lot better in his stomach. Li Xianshu on the opposite side smiled and said, Mr. Zhou, your speech at the scientific conference today was really eye-opening, enough to be recorded in history and remembered by future generations. Zhou Yang waved his hand and said, forget it, you'd better say less of this kind of compliment. I don't know how many times I've heard it today. Li Xianshu laughed and asked, Mr. Zhou, are you really going to build a spaceship? What's wrong? Zhou Yang was surprised. Li Xianshu said, nothing, I just think it's too incredible, too sci-fi. Anyway, I personally didn't expect to see the appearance of a spaceship in my lifetime. Zhou Yang smiled and said, maybe in a few years, going to space will be like going on a long journey. You and I can go to an alien planet and appreciate the beauty of the universe. That's great. If there is such an opportunity, I will definitely accompany you. Li Xianshu said hurriedly. Zhou Yang said, okay, stop playing tricks and tell me what happened. Li Xianshu is not an idle person, especially now that the Confederation has been established. He has been promoted and has more things to do. Li Xianshu said with a serious expression, it's like this. After the conference, all countries contacted us immediately. Of course, they were mainly the major powers such as M, E, and Y. They proposed an idea, which is the construction of space bases and spacecraft. They want to participate. It is their duty to provide people, because the establishment of the Academy of Sciences is to bring scientists from all over the world into it, and they are willing to pay money. In short, they are willing to pay any price, and want to join in. The higher-ups are a little hesitant, and want to hear your opinion on whether it is necessary to let them join in. Zhou Yang glanced at Li Xianshu. He knew what the country was worried about. It was because they were afraid that other countries would participate, especially in the construction of spacecraft, and then master the relevant technology and build spacecraft themselves. Although the Confederation of Nations has been established, it has just been established after all, and because each country has maintained its independence, Country Z is still a little wary. Looking up at the endless deep space, Zhou Yang thought seriously for a while and said, there is nothing to say about the space base. Even if they don't participate, they should be involved and contribute manpower and money. After all, the investment in the space base is not small. Li Xianshu nodded. There is nothing to say about the space base. It is mainly for scientific research and verification of future interstellar immigration. Of course, there is no problem for all countries to participate. As for the spacecraft, in fact, the spacecraft is a systematic technology, and the technical difficulties are amazing. I know you are worried, but some key technologies, such as controlled nuclear fusion, curvature engine, artificial intelligence, these can still be mastered in our own hands. After a pause, Zhou Yang said, I feel that we can follow the model of F-35. F-35. Li Xianshu was slightly stunned. The so-called F-35 model is that when the F-35 was first developed, the United States felt that the investment was too large, and there was uncertainty about the performance of the F-35. It was afraid that the developed product would not be easy to use and waste huge R&D costs, so it organized a global cooperation. All countries that are allies of the United States or have close relations with the United States can participate, invest money, provide personnel, or directly be responsible for part of the technical research and development and production. Finally, when the F-35 is developed, all participating countries will have the qualifications to purchase the F-35 from the United States. Chapter 330 The First Generation of Industrial Robots. Li Xianshu said, I know that the F-35 is developed through multinational cooperation, but the reason why country M did that is mainly because of the tight financial pressure. We are not short of funds, so there is no need to use this model. Zhou Yang smiled and said, even if we are not short of funds, do you know how much it costs to build a spaceship? Li Xianshu was stunned and shook his head slightly. He really didn't know this, or rather, Zhou Yang was the only one in the world who knew. Zhou Yang said, I asked Fuxi to do a calculation. If the research and development costs are included, the cost of the first spaceship will reach 3.5 trillion yuan. Li Xianshu sat up in shock and said, is it so expensive? Not 350 million, let alone 350 billion, but a full 3.5 trillion. One spaceship. In recent years, country Z has become rich, and there are many places to spend money. Spending trillions of yuan to build a spaceship is indeed a big burden. Zhou Yang smiled and said, what do you think? The spaceship I designed is 4,600 meters long and weighs hundreds of thousands of tons. Do you think its cost will be low? 4,600 meters? Li Xianshu was shocked again and muttered, it didn't seem that big when I saw the projection before. Zhou Yang said with a smile, that's a holographic projection. How can it count? What's the use of a small spaceship for interstellar navigation? At least it should be able to accommodate a space force. Li Xianshu came back to his senses and sat down again, saying, if the cost is so high, we really can't pay for it alone. Zhou Yang said, so my idea is to let all countries participate in name, but some very few key technologies should be in our hands, such as artificial intelligence. This artificial intelligence alone can hold them, because the control system of the spacecraft will process amazing data. Without artificial intelligence, it is impossible to process this amount of data. And Zhou Yang stood up, looked up at the starry sky, and said, we have unified the Earth. So next, our goal is to conquer the deep space of the universe, and we should be more open-minded. We can lead them now, so we should have confidence, and always lead them. It is not advisable to cherish what we have. Let's develop together and make human civilization more glorious. After all, our goal is the sea of stars. Zhou Yang couldn't help but think of a sentence on the internet. That is, the future journey is the sea of stars. The universe is so big, why should we be limited to a small Earth? Li Xianshu stared at Zhou Yang blankly. At this moment, Zhou Yang's confidence and pride moved him, and a great excitement surged in his heart. Okay, I understand. Li Xianshu stood up and said, I will convey your meaning to my superiors. After that, he left in a hurry. On the third day of the science conference, Matrix Energy held a press conference to officially launch the first generation of industrial replacement robots. The press conference was held in BJ. Taking advantage of the popularity of the science conference, this press conference received a lot of attention. Because Zhou Yang had said at the science conference that in the foreseeable future, robots will completely replace humans in complete production work. This is related to one's future livelihood. Who doesn't care? Moreover, in the past 2 days, the government has begun to lay the groundwork for the promotion of robots. The official media has published some relevant commentary articles, as well as discussions on future policies, etc. At the press conference, reporters gathered, and the main guests were entrepreneurs. And not only domestic, but also foreign. Mr. Ma Wang Haoning greeted a foreigner with a smile. The other party was not the two Ma in China. However, although the promotion of robots mainly affects the real economy, the two Ma still came. But the person Wang Haoning greeted was Musk of Tesla. "Hello, Mr. Wang." Musk came forward kindly and gave Wang Haoning a big hug. Wang Haoning was a little embarrassed and pushed Musk away without leaving any trace and smiled. "I heard that your new car is selling well. Congratulations." Musk waved his hand and said, "Compared with you, it's still far behind. In the electric vehicle industry, your BYD is the undisputed leader." After a pause, Musk asked again, "Mr. Wang, can Lungsan Battery give us more shares? It doesn't need to be too much, just 100 million more pieces per month." Wang Haoning fell into deep thought. In fact, the relationship between BYD and Tesla was not as good as it is now at the beginning. At the beginning, Wang Haoning was ambitious and regarded Tesla as the first opponent. He blocked the Lungsan Battery and was ready to kill Tesla. Unfortunately, the US government, or Wall Street, did not want to see Tesla fall and secretly supported Tesla's blood transfusion, which made Tesla survive. Later, Wang Haoning's attitude also changed. The main reason was that he could not kill Tesla, so he cooperated with Tesla. He used the share of Lungsan batteries to exchange for some Tesla technologies, such as electric motors and car design technologies. Moreover, Wang Haoning no longer values electric vehicles. Within BYD, Lungsan batteries are the absolute main business, supplying the world and making money lying down, which is much more profitable than making electric cars. Okay. Wang Haoning nodded and agreed without thinking much. "Thank you very much." Musk hurriedly thanked him and kindly took Wang Haoning to find a seat and then asked, "Mr. Wang, you are also a shareholder of Matrix Energy. You should be more informed than us. You should know something about what kind of robot Matrix Energy will release this time." As he spoke, Lei Jun also came over and greeted Wang Haoning with a smile. And it was not just Lei Jun, many domestic industrial leaders came over. Everyone knows that Wang Haoning is a shareholder of Matrix Energy. Wang Haoning hurriedly said, "Don't ask me, I don't know anything, and everyone, this is Matrix Energy. Although I have some shares, it's just shares. Matrix Energy's affairs are not something I can ask about. Also, this press conference is about to start. No matter how anxious you are, don't rush at this moment." After Wang Haoning said this, the crowd gradually dispersed. The time came to 10 o'clock in the morning, and the press conference site was already full, with a full 7 or 8,000 people. Almost all the powerful companies in various industries came. At the same time, this press conference will also be broadcast, live around the world, and the attention is amazing. A young man walked onto the stage with a confident step. The young man is called Chang Hongfei, and he is not very old, in his early 30s. He is the successor of Hezio in Matrix Energy. Hezio will be transferred to the Academy of Sciences to work with Zhou Yang, and Matrix Energy will be handed over to Chang Hongfei. Being able to manage Matrix Energy at such a young age, Chang Hongfei is naturally extremely excellent and has an extremely powerful background. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331 Super Factory. The entrepreneurs present can be said to be the top entrepreneurs in various industries around the world. At the same time, behind the live camera, there are billions of people around the world watching. But Chang Hongfei did not have any stage fright. He came to the center of the stage, coughed lightly, and said with a smile, "Then let's get straight to the point." Simple and direct, but it also shows Chang Hongfei's inner strength. "First, we will launch the first generation of standard robots to the world. Chang Hongfei waved his hand slightly, the stage behind him opened, and a robot slowly walked out and came to Chang Hongfei's side. The eyes of everyone present were instantly focused. It was a humanoid robot, with a grey-black matte metal color. There was nothing particularly different about the structure itself. It had hands and feet. If it was covered with skin, it should be no different from a human. Chang Hongfei pointed at the robot and introduced, "This is a multi-purpose, highly applicable robot with super flexibility. How about this? I'll let him do a set of punches for us." Do a set of punches? So flexible? It should be possible. It looks much more flexible than Dabe. Some discussions appeared in the audience. The robot in the center of the stage also began to move, clasping its hands in front of its chest, and said in a young man's voice, "Then I will show my ugliness." After saying that, it immediately started to move. A standard long fist. Just this one action shows that this robot has amazing coordination. So flexible. Wang Haoning exclaimed. This is the first time Wang Haoning has seen this robot. Musk beside him nodded solemnly and said, "I noticed that this robot has many muscle-like structures. For any movement, these muscle-like structures on the body will make corresponding changes. It should be because of this reason that it can have a high degree of flexibility close to that of humans. And this control system is so powerful. This robot should be made by Mr. Zhou. After all, Mr. Zhou developed Mechas, and his research on machine imitation of human action should be the best in the world." Wang Haoning glanced at Musk and said, "Whether it is powerful or not is another matter, but if you say that this robot was made by Mr. Zhou, I don't agree." Oh. Musk was stunned. Wang Haoning looked at the robot on the stage, punching vigorously, and said, "Mr. Zhou is not researching ordinary things. This kind of robot is too easy. Mr. Zhou doesn't have the time to research such low-level things." Musk couldn't help but widen his eyes. The difficulty was too low. If it was easy, it wouldn't be difficult. At this time, the robot on the stage also finished a set of long fists and finished calmly. You should have seen that this robot has super flexibility. It can complete 92% of the actions that humans can do. Chang Hongfei continued to introduce. At the same time, he has artificial intelligence and an independent personality. In short, apart from the core, he is not much different from us. So he can also do the work that humans can do, and he has a strong learning ability and can adapt to work of different difficulty. In the foreseeable future, he can become a worker on the assembly line, can deliver ticket, can be a cashier, and can do any work that humans can do, and he can do it better. Tireless, never slack off, always maintain the highest efficiency. He is a robot, but also a machine, a smarter machine. The eyes of many entrepreneurs present are getting brighter and brighter. This is simply the most perfect worker. People will get tired, slack off, and be lazy. There are also differences in work efficiency. If they are in a bad mood, they will give up. But machines will not. Set the program well. As long as the power is sufficient and the machine is running normally, they can work until they die. However, in the past industrial robots could only complete a specific production link, and some links must be completed by humans, because no matter how well the industrial robots are designed, they cannot completely replicate human actions. But the robot in front of him is different. It can basically do all the actions that humans can do. It has hands and feet, and is not much different from humans. The product is good, but I don't know how much it will cost. If it is too expensive, the investment will be huge. It probably won't be cheap. After all, the technology content is so high. But it can save a lot of labor costs and management costs, and the yield rate can definitely be better controlled. So from this perspective, it is still cost effective to use robots to replace labor. Many entrepreneurs present whispered. Ordinary people watching the live broadcast felt like the end of the world was coming. It's over. This thing is too flexible. If it is covered with a layer of skin, it will be basically no different from humans. Then won't all the jobs we can do be replaced by robots? What about ordinary workers like us who have no skills and can only work in factories? Will we be unemployed directly? Yeah, didn't I hear this Chang Hongfei say that it can even do the simplest jobs such as delivering ticket, cashiering, and serving dishes? This will completely leave us no way to survive. Before, Mr. Zhou said at the science conference that robots would completely replace humans, and I felt something was wrong. Now it seems that we will really be unemployed. You are still too pessimistic. What kind of wisdom does Mr. Zhou have? Every policy of the country is decided after consultation with countless elites. What you can think of, Mr. Zhou and others must have thought of as well. That's right. Mr. Zhou also said at the time that the promotion of robots is to replace repetitive and simple production work, and the purpose is to liberate humans so that we can do other things, improve ourselves, and do some spiritual civilization construction. Do you want to waste your youth on the assembly line every day, or do something you like? I have wanted to surf for a long time, and I will teach surfing in the future. I don't want to work in a factory for a long time. As long as I can guarantee my basic life, and then give me another chance, I will pick up my childhood dream of singing, and strive to be a singer. You people talk as if everyone has a dream. My dream is to play football. Damn it, I get angry when I see the Z country team. We have unified the world, so the World Cup should be cancelled, and we should just have a Z country cup. There was a lot of discussion on the internet, but many people still had to be more rational, believe Zhou Yang, and believe in the government. The press conference site. Wrongfully continued, the price of standard robots has not been determined yet, so we will go straight to the next stage, which is our robot-based, modular, and highly flexible superfactory system. Let me give you an analogy. The so-called superfactory is based on the products you want to produce, and the production process. Just like playing with Lego blocks, you can assemble universal functional modules together to form a superfactory. Chapter 332 Production Concept. Hearing Wrongfully's words, many entrepreneurs in the audience were enlightened. This concept is interesting, Lei Chun said to himself. Beside him, Wang Haoning also fell into deep thought and said to himself, like Lego blocks, building different modules, what does this mean? Everyone talked about it. Wrongfully on the stage said, as the saying goes, seeing is believing, then please watch the demonstration. Wrongfully waved his hand, and the holographic projection behind him appeared. This is a workshop. Our goal is to produce a car. The normal automobile production line will be very long and have multiple links. Although it is called fully automatic, except for stamping, welding, spraying and other links, the assembly link alone still requires the assistance of many workers. Wang Haoning, Musk and other car dealers in the audience nodded. Although the current automobile assembly line is called fully automated, it is only relatively speaking. Basic processes such as welding can be completed by robots, but when it comes to the assembly of parts, a lot of manual work is still required. So how do we build this workshop? Wrongfully waved his hand, and a window appeared on the screen. In the window, there were a large number of modular structures like building blocks. First, we used artificial intelligence to collect all the processing and production process links on the market, and designed universal individual process modules based on this. And I mean all of them, which can be stamping, riveting, welding and other processes in metal processing, as well as wood crafts, and even leather, chemical industry and other process links. In other words, we have found corresponding automation solutions for all means of production at this stage of human beings. Everyone present took a breath of cold air, and many people sat up straight involuntarily. Wrongfully's words were simply a bomb. Designing automation solutions for all production processes requires an astronomical number of industrial design capabilities. However, Wrongfully also said that it was completed by artificial intelligence, and everyone has long understood the power of artificial intelligence, and perhaps it is really possible to do it. Wrongfully continued, then, we will design according to the production process of a car and all the production links. Please see, first, we will design the underlying things, such as power supply, drainage, and temperature and humidity. Then, according to the specific production process, we will find the corresponding module in our module library. For example, if I need a welding process, I need to find a standard module suitable for automobile welding process. There will be many such welding modules, suitable for different processing conditions and different welding environments. After finding the welding module, you can add it in. Wrongfully manipulated his fingers and pulled in a welding module. Then we will add each production process link step by step, and finally, assemble all the production processes. At this point, Chan Hongfei suddenly stopped and faced the crowd, saying, "Everyone, of course I'm just demonstrating the general process here. In fact, in the application, the design of each workshop will be handed over to artificial intelligence. All you have to do is to propose the required production process and process, as well as specific requirements. And this is an automobile production workshop designed by artificial intelligence." The video behind Chan Hongfei changed, and a huge workshop appeared. Wang Haoning and others were slightly stunned. Why is there only one workshop? Isn't it an assembly line? Wang Haoning noticed at a glance that the workshop in the video was not large, and unlike the assembly line of modern technology, it was divided into links and finally assembled into a huge, super long assembly line. On the stage, Chan Hongfei continued, "Then please watch it." As he spoke, the workshop began to operate in the video. Everyone clearly saw that the workshop was divided into two parts, a smaller workshop and a larger workshop. The steel plate entered the small workshop to complete the stamping process, and then entered the large workshop. In the large workshop, there were fixed parts and welding. The whole process was obviously calculated precisely, the speed was extremely fast, and the number of mechanical arms was extremely large. The welding process was almost completed instantly, and a car frame appeared. Then there were painting, electroplating and other processes. The magical thing was that inside the workshop, a spraying workshop was automatically assembled at the original welding position, and then spraying, baking, etc. were carried out. Finally, the electroplating pool, spray chuck, etc. were removed. Wang Haoning's eyes lit up and he said, "I understand. These robotic arms are like CNC. According to different process requirements, the corresponding processing heads can be replaced. In this way, a robotic arm can be multifunctional." In the video, the assembly of parts began. All parts were transported in through the conveyor line. There were more than a dozen robotic arms for gluing, fixing and other processes. The whole process was smooth and amazingly fast. In this link, the most labor is actually required, but now it is all done by automated machinery. The eyes of many car companies present became brighter and brighter. Now the most automated automobile assembly line claims that a car can be rolled off the line in 1 minute, but that is the final assembly process. If it is calculated from the initial stamping parts program, it may take 30 hours for a car to go from the steel plate to the final roll-off. And now, about 15 minutes later, a brand new car is completed and automatically transported to the outside of the workshop on the conveyor line. Everyone at the scene stood up and applauded. The whole process looks so pleasing to the eye. On the stage, Chan Hongfei said, "Let's take a look at the time." The entire production process took 15 minutes and 42 seconds, and a large part of this time was the spray baking and electroplating process. In this place, we have upgraded the process to quickly dry the paint surface. Some people may ask, this workshop can only produce one car, compared with the assembly line. Doesn't it have any advantages? Many entrepreneurs nodded. The assembly line is very long, and can process many cars at the same time. Chan Hongfei said, the assembly line is an efficient production process. Our super factory can also assemble an assembly line to carry out large-scale production. What we are demonstrating now is just a specific production process. It is to tell you that we can set up such a workshop, input materials, and then complete the finished product processing. It is not limited to the production of cars. Everyone suddenly realized that what Chan Hongfei demonstrated was not a specific production process, but a concept. That is, a single processing workshop, the process of putting in raw materials and getting finished products. Chapter 333 Price of Industrial Robots. Many people showed expressions of sudden enlightenment. So that's it. It's not about producing cars specifically, but about assembling a workshop to produce thousands of products. Wang Haoning said thoughtfully. Chan Hongfei's words have been very clear. He is demonstrating a concept, not that cars need to be produced in this way. After completing the previous work, the assembly line production can produce a car in a few minutes, which is already very fast. However, Wang Haoning thinks that if the subsequent assembly process of the car is upgraded, the speed improvement will be extremely huge. Musk next to him said, "I just don't know what the cost of assembling such a workshop is. If the cost is not high, then cars can actually be produced in this way. One car in 15 minutes, compared to the original production process, a car from start to finish, takes more than 30 hours, which is many times faster. If the cost of a single workshop is low, it is completely possible to use scale to pile up production. Under normal circumstances, a production line can produce 1,800 cars in 30 hours at the fastest rate of 1 car per minute. In the same amount of time, a workshop like this can produce 120 cars in 30 hours. As long as there are 15 similar workshops, the same cars can be produced in the same amount of time. However, the cost of a completed automobile production line is extremely high." Wang Haoning's eyes lit up, and he said anxiously, "Yes, it is entirely possible to use scale to pile up production. I just don't know how much such a workshop costs. It shouldn't be expensive, as there are not many robotic arms." On the stage, Wrongfully continued, "I said before that this super factory is put together like Lego blocks. Lego blocks have a very important feature, which is high versatility. In other words, all the parts that make up the workshop are standard parts, so if any part is damaged, it can be quickly replaced and repaired. If you want to upgrade one of the processes, you don't need to upgrade the entire workshop, you only need to upgrade a specific module." Many entrepreneurs' eyes lit up again. "Great." Wang Haoning applauded. In modern industrial production, after completing a production line, if you want to upgrade it, it will cost a lot. First, it takes time to replace and debug the production line, which is a very cumbersome process. Second, the cost itself is not small. Sometimes, the original production line can no longer be used. If you want to replace it completely, it will be an astronomical figure. Now, you can directly upgrade the specific process in a modular way, and the cost will be much lower. Musk next to him also sighed. "It's a genius idea. Did Mr. Zhou come up with it?" Wang Haoning was about to shake his head, but after thinking about it, he nodded and said, "I guess it is. This idea is really superb. How could the two know that this was purely done by the country itself? How could Zhou Yang participate in such a simple thing? Now Zhou Yang rarely participates in the design of production technology. Even if he really designs it, he will use the alien technology provided by Red Queen. It is one-piece molding, which is ahead of the current production technology by an era." Wrongfully waved his hand, and the picture behind him disappeared, and then said, "Next, we will provide 2 services. One is professional industrial design, which will be completed by the highest authority artificial intelligence." This sentence caused exclamations at the scene. Everyone has long known that artificial intelligence also has different levels. Although it has been released for a long time, the degree of intelligence is still completely different, and the highest level of artificial intelligence is not open to the public at all. The specific charging standards will be evaluated according to the design requirements of the required process. A one-time fee will be charged, and the specific upgrades thereafter will also be charged at similar standards. Of course, we will also open a special program, and you can organize a dedicated person to design. This set of design software will be completely free. At the same time, we will also build a program module platform, and everyone can join in, contribute their wisdom, and provide production design templates or specific modules. You can provide them for free for everyone to use, or you can charge and get corresponding rewards. After Wrongfully talked about letting artificial intelligence provide design, many people who work in industrial design felt like the sky was falling. Now, even those who play with design and use their brains will be unemployed. However, Wrongfully's next words were a sudden turn of events, which made them brighten their eyes. It is equivalent to matrix energy providing a platform to carry out specific designs based on the modules of the platform. This must require considerable professional knowledge. They can charge fees and earn rewards through the survival of the fittest. Wrongfully continued, "The second service is the relevant modules. We will build a huge module database, classified into categories. Any enterprise or individual can purchase the required modules on the platform, and the prices will be clearly announced. Okay, the press conference is over. For specific matters, please contact us directly at Matrix Energy. Chang Hongfei smiled and nodded at everyone, turned around and walked off the stage. Although the press conference is over, the impact is far-reaching. Global media are reporting it extensively because there are too many explosive points brought by this press conference. First, what kind of impact will the promotion of robots have on society? This alone is worth writing about. Then there is the emergence of a new concept superfactory, and many media have published the title of Industrial Revolution. However, what people are most concerned about is the price of the robot. The price of a Dabe is as high as 90,000. Although it was mass-produced later, and the price was reduced, it still costs 60,000. So how much does such a robot, a professional industrial robot, cost? Many media speculate that it may cost 100,000 yuan. On the third day of the press conference, Matrix Energy announced the price of the standard robot on its official website. It was 100,000 yuan, not even a dollar cheaper. This price caused a lot of heated discussion. Many people said that robots are so expensive, so it is better to use manpower. People who were originally worried that robots would take over their jobs were inexplicably relieved at this time, thinking that entrepreneurs would definitely not be able to afford such expensive robots. But what is surprising is that many companies followed up immediately after Matrix Energy announced the price of the robot. For example, Mechas announced the next day that it would spend 10 billion to purchase 100,000 robots to replace the existing food delivery staff in key cities across the country. After Mechas' announcement, his partner, L.Me, quickly followed up and was even more radical. It directly spent 100 billion to purchase 1 million robots in batches to completely replace all food delivery riders. Chapter 334 Opening Weibo. The announcement of the two pieces of news also caused quite a stir. Many food delivery riders said that they did not expect unemployment to come so quickly overnight. There are also a large number of food delivery riders who come out to complain, not knowing what they can do after losing their jobs. But some people come out to analyze. An industrial robot is not cheap at a price of 100,000 yuan, but a food delivery rider, based on the current average salary of 5,000 yuan, has a salary expenditure of 60,000 yuan a year, which is only the most basic expenditure. If the rider is a little more diligent, there are also food delivery riders in big cities who can easily earn more than 10,000 yuan a month. If you calculate it this way, the salary expenditure for 1 to 1.5 years is enough to buy a robot. At the same time, not to mention the hidden expenses such as medical and social security of the riders. Therefore, for companies such as Mechas, using 1 to 2 years of employee expenditure to replace a batch of robots that only need to be charged and simply maintained is a one-time expenditure, but this money can be slowly spent through bank loans and other means. In the long run, it is definitely cost-effective. In addition, there are huge costs for personnel management. If robots are used, all operations are networked, and through artificial intelligence, the delivery time can be accurately planned. At the same time, robots do not fight back when they are hit or scolded, have a good service attitude, and can reduce a lot of costs. Many companies will do the math. Therefore, after Mechas and L.Me announced the purchase of robots, a large number of companies followed suit. SF Express announced the purchase of 300,000 robots for express delivery. JD.com also immediately announced the purchase of 100,000 robots to upgrade its distribution network. Those service companies that require a lot of manpower soon followed suit and announced the purchase of robots. And not only domestic companies, but also a large number of foreign companies followed suit. After announcing the price of the robot, Matrix Energy also quickly opened a special pre-sale platform. Within a week, Matrix Energy announced that within 7 days, the number of pre-sale robot orders reached 334.2 million units. Once this number was announced, it shocked the world. First, no one expected that industrial robots would be so popular, and so many companies would choose to order them. 330 million units, at the most basic level, will replace the jobs of 330 million people. How many labor forces are there in the world? According to the current global population of 7 billion, excluding the elderly, young children, and many people who are not working for various reasons, such as bosses, full-time housewives, etc., the real working population may be only about half. In this, there are also many mental workers, managers, etc. excluded. The number of people who really engage in simple physical labor may have to be discounted, half, that is, 1.5 billion. Now, the investment of more than 300 million industrial robots will directly replace 1/5 of the 1.5 billion population. The number of unemployed people brought about will be astonishingly large. Then there is such a high sales volume, 100,000 per robot, that is 33 trillion in sales. This number is almost the GDP of country Z in 1 quarter. And Matrix Energy achieved such a high sales volume in 7 days. However, Matrix Energy faces all the companies in the world. There are so many companies and so many industries in the world. Even a restaurant can buy a few robots to help them serve dishes. And there are still many small and medium-sized enterprises that choose to buy robots to replace workers. It is the accumulation of so many companies that has achieved such high sales. The direct impact is the wave of resistance around the world. Many workers have publicly expressed their protests against Matrix Energy and industrial robots. Even many people protested against Zhou Yang. They thought it was Zhou Yang who decided the full promotion of industrial robots. There was also a lot of opposition on the domestic internet. Many writers made comments through various channels, saying that it was not easy to make money, and now it is good. There is no chance to make money. And what else can you do if you don't work as a takeaway rider? You have no skills, no education, and a large number of factories may follow suit soon, and then you won't even be able to work in factories. It is impossible for Zhou Yang not to pay attention to such a trend. As early as after the press conference, Zhou Yang considered opening a channel to contact more people and express some of his own ideas. It's not that he dominated the speech, or that he made irresponsible comments on national policies. Zhou Yang felt that, while he was developing various technologies, he also had the responsibility to tell everyone the value and significance of this technology. So after the science conference, Zhou Yang contacted Weibo and told them that he planned to open a Weibo account. This news made Sina very happy. How great is Zhou Yang's influence? And if he is willing to open a Weibo account, how great will his influence on Weibo be? These days, Sina has been planning to launch Zhou Yang's Weibo account. After Zhou Yang noticed the trend on the internet, he immediately notified Sina and opened his own Weibo account. On the same day, Sina used all channels to announce Zhou Yang's entry into Weibo. Virtual space, traditional media, TV ads, mobile phone push, any channel. Sina spent a lot of money on publicity. It can be said that overpass. People all over the world knew that Zhou Yang was going to open a Weibo account. On the same day, Zhou Yang's Weibo account was officially launched. 1 hour after it was launched, the number of followers exceeded 1 billion. In half a day, the number of fans exceeded 2 billion, and many fans were from abroad, which indirectly led to a wave of publicity for Sina Weibo abroad, and gained a large number of users. A piece of good news released by Sina on Weibo received more than 10 million comments. Zhou Yang's popularity really shocked Sina. The next day, the number of Weibo fans had reached 3 billion, and almost half of the world's population followed Zhou Yang. This number completely exceeded Sina's expectations, which means that their Weibo registrations have also reached 3 billion. Background data shows that many people specially registered for Weibo and only followed Zhou Yang. At this time, Zhou Yang also specially recorded a video and published his first Weibo. In the video, Zhou Yang should be in the office, and he just took out his mobile phone to record it. Recently, many people have questioned that robots will completely replace human labor, resulting in a large number of people losing their jobs. I have said this issue at the science conference. This is a trend in the future, and the unemployment problem caused by this is also an inevitable problem. I noticed that many people are worried, but I think this worry is unnecessary. Any decision made by the country will make plans for various results and reduce turmoil as much as possible. As far as I know, the country has increased re-employment training and plans to build a large number of education and training institutions. It will also increase basic welfare to ensure the lives of ordinary people. At the same time, the country will have a large number of national projects in the future, which will also require a large number of labor. You may even have the opportunity to work in space. There is also a most basic reason. As far as I know, the sales volume of robots is 300 million units. It will take several years to produce and deliver all these robots. Therefore, even if robots are used to replace human labor, it will not be achieved overnight, but a slow process. You don't have to worry about it at all. Chapter 335 Moon Landing begins. The video Zhou Yang posted instantly dominated the headlines of major news outlets. The number of comments under this Weibo post instantly exceeded 100 million. I'm touched. I didn't expect Mr. Zhou to take time out of his busy schedule to answer our questions. I feel that Mr. Zhou is right. This is an inevitable trend. Robots are more efficient and will sooner or later replace simple production labor. This is just like economic transformation. There will always be pain. I believe the government will definitely solve various problems. And didn't Mr. Zhou say that not everyone will be unemployed all of a sudden? There is a process. It will take several years to produce more than 300 million robots. It seems that I really need to improve my skills. If I don't work hard, I may not even be able to find a job sweeping the streets in the future. The reactions from all parties were also very fast. Matrix Energy immediately issued a notice that the production of industrial robots was limited and all orders would be delivered in 2 to 3 years according to the appointment time. Even at the government press conference, the spokesperson deliberately mentioned this issue and announced a series of actions by the government, such as lowering the minimum living standard, building more schools, and cultivating technical talents. After this series of actions, the various protests on the internet gradually dissipated. Chinese people are diligent and conscientious and believe that, as long as they work hard, there will be a better tomorrow. However, not everyone in the world is like Chinese people. People in some countries are used to being masters, while some are really lazy. When they hear that they are going to lose their jobs, they will make a fuss. Therefore, the domestic discussion has subsided, but the foreign countries are like a horse watching lantern, one day after another, making a mess. This result makes Zhou Yang thoroughly understand how wise it is for the country to establish a confederation. If such a group of masters really want to destroy other countries, and they have to support them, wouldn't it become a pile of burdens? At this time, a more important thing attracted everyone's attention. On December 1st, the Geminid meteor shower. This year's Geminid meteor shower came earlier than in previous years, and the observatory had already announced that this year's Geminid meteor shower would be a big explosion, so it received a lot of attention. Many astronomy enthusiasts grabbed a favorable position the night before to prepare to observe this big meteor shower that came at 3 o'clock in the morning. At Zijin Mountain, astronomy enthusiast Lao Zhu went out at midnight and went up the mountain to grab a favorable position, but when he got up the mountain, he found that the top of the mountain was already crowded with people. Lao Zhu is here, early enough. An acquaintance from the local astronomy association greeted Lao Zhu. What's the point of being early? You guys, you came so early and didn't even grab a seat for me. Lao Zhu laughed and scolded. Who said there was no seat reserved for you? Look, it's in the middle. It's already reserved for you. A palm-sized space was left between several people. Lao Zhu was not polite and went straight forward to set up the equipment. The predicted time was 3 o'clock in the morning. Now it was still early and several people gathered together to chat and smoke. Time slowly came to 1:30 in the morning. At this time, someone nearby suddenly exclaimed, "Look at the northwest sky. What is that? Is it a retrograde meteor shower?" Lao Zhu and others were startled and turned their heads to look. Today happened to be the 17th day of the lunar calendar. The winter weather was clear and a bright moon hung in the sky, bright and clear. Everyone looked towards the northwest sky, and vaguely, they really noticed something. One after another, light blue traces spread from the ground to the sky, and the traces were all parallel. It looked like a reverse meteor shower. What's going on? I've lived for decades, and this is the first time I've seen such a scene. Is it the refracted light of something? How can it be such a trajectory? Lao Zhu quickly adjusted the telescope, and said as he adjusted it, "Is it stupid? We will know after we take a look." Everyone reacted and quickly adjusted the telescope to focus on these traces. The astronomy enthusiasts around him did the same thing. Lao Tzu was very fast and quickly captured these light blue traces, then focused, and gradually, a huge black box appeared in the lens. On the black box, there was a light blue indicator light, and the light blue traces were the traces left by the indicator light moving quickly in the night sky. What the hell is this thing? Lao Tzu exclaimed. Yes, it looks like a big black box. How can such a big black box be flying in the sky? No, there are words on it. Let me see. Damn, they are Chinese characters. Z Country North Industries Group Co Limited. There is also a small national flag. My god, what is going on? Is this box ours? It's from our country. Look quickly. There are mechas around the box. It's the Zhuang. The Zhuang. Lao Tzu also hurriedly adjusted the focus and zoomed out a little. Sure enough, he found a light golden figure near the box in front of him. Focusing and taking a look, it was indeed the Zhuang. What's going on? There are so many black boxes, dozens of them. What are they for? Damn, I remember. Didn't Mr. Zhou say at the previous science conference that on December 1st, some space program was going to be carried out? Could this be it? Yes, they said they were going to build a space base on the moon today. These black boxes are so big. Could they be used to transport supplies? What a big deal. It's so far away from us. This black box must be hundreds of meters in size and weigh thousands of tons. Can it go to the moon? Thousands of tons. I think it's more than that. It must be full of goods. If you ask me, it's more than tens of thousands of tons. At this moment, the Kunpeng in the ascending stage and the Zhuang following it suddenly began to accelerate and moved at an incredible speed. Everyone present had no time to adjust the telescope lens. I can't keep up. Lao Tzu was moved and shouted, "Look at the moon, they are heading for the moon." Everyone suddenly realized and quickly adjusted the focus and aimed at the moon above their heads. The weather conditions were excellent today and the moon was extremely clear. A few minutes later, Lao Tzu suddenly shouted, "Found it." In the camera, Lao Tzu has captured this Kunpeng team, which has already arrived above the moon. Judging from the location, it should be entering the lunar orbit. I see it. Oh my god, it's so spectacular. At this time, the Kunpeng appeared on the front of the moon. After being illuminated by the reflected light of the moon, a total of 36 Kunpengs, plus the 6 escorting Zhuang, looked like an interstellar fleet, which was daunting and spectacular to the extreme. Look, it's landed. In the camera, the entire team began to land on the surface of the moon. The whole process was very fast, especially the 6 Zhuang, which appeared on the surface of the moon, as if they had teleported. A moment later, the 36 Kunpengs also landed smoothly on the surface of the moon one by one. Chapter 336. Are you shameless? 6 Zhuang, led by Zubin, immediately stepped forward after many Kunpengs landed. Unload. Zubin gave an order, and each of them came to the tail of a Kunpeng, pressed the switch, and opened the cargo hold. The cargo hold door opened, and the 6 people stepped forward and dragged out a huge material box from the cargo hold. The Kunpeng cargo hold has an area of 100,000 cubic meters. Now it is transporting the shell materials of the base. The total weight of the transported cargo has reached 260,000 tons. Before landing on the moon, the problem of construction on the moon was considered. After calculating the load, Fuchsie gave a design plan similar to the regular hexagonal assembly structure of a honeycomb. First of all, the shell is a regular hexagon with a single side of 2 meters and a thickness of 25 centimeters. There is a supporting structure inside the shell, which is like an umbrella as a whole. The shell is supported by the internal skeleton, and then all the faces are fixed and spliced together with the same supporting structure. The whole structure is like an inverted Z country's sky eye. The cargo hold was filled with shell structures, which were packed in huge iron boxes. Each box had hundreds of pieces and weighed thousands of tons. However, the gravity on the moon was small, and the Zhuang was extremely powerful, so the cargo could be unloaded very quickly. On Purple Mountain, Lao Tzu and others also saw the 6 Zhuang working through telescopes. Have they started to build now? There are so many things. Are they materials? A lot. We have only just started. Don't you think that Mr. Zhou said that they plan to build a base with a diameter of 2 kilometers on the moon? For a base that big, how could there be less materials? I saw someone calculate that if special steel is used, it would probably take tens of millions of tons of steel. Don't say so much. I just think that our country is really awesome. We can actually build a base directly on the moon. We used to think about manned moon landings, but now we have built a base directly. Yes, this big black box doesn't look very good, but it runs faster than a rocket and can hold so much. It's awesome. Everyone was talking about it, and they just felt it was novel. About half an hour later, all the cargo was unloaded, and the 36 Kunpengs took off again, rushed out of the lunar orbit, and headed for the Earth. The faint indicator light cut through the night sky, just like a meteor shower. But at this time, Lao Zhu and others didn't care about the meteor shower at all, and stared at every move on the moon. The moon is so close that you can see the situation on the moon with a telescope for a few $1,000s. Isn't this just a live broadcast of building a space base? Lao Zhu said with a bit of a laugh. Yes, we can all see it, and other countries have astronomical telescopes and military satellites, so they can see it much more clearly than us. Will this leak secrets? What you said is wrong. What do you mean by other countries? They are our vassal states. In name, there is only one country on the earth now. Our country Z. They are all little brothers. Just let them see. What can they do? And didn't Mr. Zhou also say, when he convened a scientific conference, that scientists from all over the world should be involved, so they must have a share in building a space base? Everyone was talking. As everyone said, the moon is too close, and every move cannot be concealed. Moreover, Zhou Yang had already announced that the construction of the lunar space base would start on December 1st. All actions were also notified to various countries in advance. Countries like M country also participated in the construction of the space base. So at this moment, not only ordinary astronomy enthusiasts, but also observatories of various countries and governments of various countries are closely following this action plan. The White House, Pellet and other senior executives were all in the office, watching NASA's live broadcast on the big screen. After seeing the 36 Kunpengs landed smoothly on the moon, Pellet and others couldn't help but burst into cheers. Success. Great. Smooth landing. No mistakes. Everyone was as happy as if M country had landed on the moon. However, someone still said something inappropriate. Guys, this is a transport ship of Z country. It is their success and has nothing to do with us. The speaker was the Minister of Defense, with a solemn face. It was amazing enough that Zhou and Yuan could land on the moon easily, and now Z country has developed Kunpeng, which can directly send supplies to the moon. This aerospace capability can be said to kill M country in seconds. Pear waved his hand with a nonchalant look and said, alas, what Z country M country? We are now country, a confederation. The success of Z country is also the success of our M country. Tomorrow morning, I will hold a press conference to announce this good news to all citizens. After more than 50 years, we have finally successfully landed on the moon again. Everyone looked at Pear speechlessly. Is it really good to take the credit of Z country on yourself? The key is to be shameless. However, Pear's face was full of joy. What shame is there? We are all a country, and of course yours is mine. In the huge command center of Wanghu Village Research Institute, Zhou Yang was also paying attention to this moon landing. After the first batch of Kunpeng landed on the moon, there was a warm cheer at the scene. On the big screen, other countries that were connected by video, such as NASA of M country, Federal Space Agency of E country, and European Space Agency of ESA, etc., were also cheering. Mr. Zhou, congratulations. On the left, a white middle-aged man with grey hair came over. His name was Mark Wade, and he was NASA's chief aerospace expert. Zhou Yang nodded slightly, but there was nothing to be happy about. What could be happy about such a 100% successful thing? Let Northern Industry deliver all the goods to the moon as soon as possible before dawn at 6 o'clock. Zhou Yang said, after looking at the time. This time, the higher-ups prepared a special ceremony to hold a flag-raising ceremony on the moon. In theory, this special ceremony should be notified in advance and announced. but the higher-ups were afraid that the action would fail, and they were not well prepared, so they did not announce it in advance to avoid making a mistake. Now that the delivery was successful, BJ should have started preparing. It is now December, and BJ's flag-raising ceremony will start at 7:36. 1 hour is enough. At that time, the flag-raising ceremony on the moon will be broadcast live to the world. Only 36 kunpengs were produced for the time being. The second batch of cargo was quickly loaded and transported to the moon. In addition to the necessary base shell materials, this batch of cargo also included some special cargo, a standard flagpole about 20 meters long with a special flag-raising device attached. At the same time, there was also a national flag made of special materials. When the time comes, the place where the flag is raised will be the construction site of the space base. Chapter 337 Live Flag Raising. BJ, Tiananmen Square. Every day, many tourists come here to attend the flag raising ceremony. Today is the same. The weather is cold, but it can't extinguish the enthusiasm of tourists. At 6 o'clock in the morning, the square is already crowded with people. At this time, someone noticed that a large number of staff appeared on the flag raising platform and were busy, as if they were building something. In the distance, some live broadcast vehicles painted with CCTV logos appeared, and then a large number of equipment were unloaded, and camera positions began to be built around the flag raising platform. Overhead, drones also began to hover. What's going on? So many people, what are they doing? I don't know. It feels like they are going to broadcast live. What special day is today? Why do we have to broadcast the flag raising ceremony live? At this time, many people's mobile phones vibrated. There was a pop-up window prompt. Many people took out their mobile phones to check, and they were stunned when they saw it. A pop-up message appeared on the mobile phone, prompting that today's flag raising ceremony will be broadcast live on all platforms, and then, Country Z will raise the national flag on the moon. Oh my god, is this true? Raising the flag on the moon? What's going on? Why are we raising the flag on the moon? I remember, isn't today December 1st? I think Mr. Zhou said before that we are going to start building a space base on the moon today. Fuck, is this thing really going to start construction? It's amazing. Many people subconsciously looked up at the sky above their heads. Of course, they couldn't see the moon, but it didn't stop everyone from imagining that on the moon, 380,000 kilometers away, their compatriots were preparing to raise the national flag. In an instant, a sense of pride arose. Country Z is mighty. Someone shouted first. Then more and more people echoed, and finally it was like a torrent, spreading across the entire square like a tsunami. Pop-ups on all platforms. Such a promotion effort is almost known to everyone. Many office workers who may be on the way have also received pop-ups and can directly access the live broadcast platform to view the live broadcast from the moon. CCTV also immediately switched to related programs. The host was Kang Hui, who specially invited an expert from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and a vice president of Northern Industries, who happened to be He Shengming, as special guests to introduce the flag-raising event. Kang Hui said, "At this time, I'm afraid many people are on their way to work, and some may not have gotten up yet, but as a special day, I still hope that more Chinese people can witness it with their own eyes. First of all, as far as I know, this plan has already started since the early morning, right, Manager He?" Kang Hui looked at He Shengming. He Shengming nodded, coughed lightly, and said, "Yes, the specific start time was set by Mr. Zhou. It was set at 12 o'clock in the morning. Our 36 prepared kunpengs, under the escort of 6 Zuanians, took off and arrived at the moon in 12 minutes, and landed smoothly on the moon." Kang Hui asked quickly, "Then Manager He, the Zuanian Mecha, as the audience in front of the TV know, is the latest second generation Mecha developed in my country. So what is the kunpeng? Can you introduce it to the audience?" He Shengming smiled and said, "The kunpeng is a special interstellar transport ship. Mr. Zhou instructed us to produce it. It has a simple shape, but its technological content is not low. It has 4 controlled nuclear fusions and 4 corresponding curvature engines, which give it a speed comparable to that of the Zuanian." As he spoke, a holographic projection also projected the style of the kunpeng on the podium. The cargo hold of Kunpeng is 100 meters long, 50 meters wide, and 20 meters high. It can hold 100,000 cubic meters of cargo. The theoretical maximum load is 1.5 million tons. 1.5 million tons. Kang Hui was shocked. He Shengming said, "This number is not exaggerated. It has 100,000 cubic meters of cargo hold. For some heavy metals, 1 cubic meter may weigh more than 10 tons, so it is normal for 100,000 cubic meters to carry more than 1 million tons." Kang Hui nodded slightly. He Shengming continued, "In addition, it also has a 3-constant system and many special designs to ensure the safe transportation of goods." After introducing Kunpeng, Kang Hui couldn't help but sighed. This is a real great weapon of a great country. I would like to ask, who is the designer of Kunpeng? Is it Mr. Zhou? He Shengming smiled bitterly and shook his head, saying, "How is it possible? How could such a small gadget catch Mr. Zhao's eye?" Kang Hui was shocked. Such a high-tech thing turned out to be a small gadget? You don't know that at the beginning. Mr. Zhou instructed us, North Industries, to develop Kunpeng. We made a version of the design, but after Mr. Zhou saw it, he completely rejected it. Do you know what Mr. Zhou said at that time? Mr. Zhao's original words at that time were, "I gave you half a month. It's not a difficult thing. You made such a thing for me. Are you fooling me?" Kang Hui's eyes widened. Half a month. It's not a difficult thing. Such a high-tech thing, in Zhou Yang's eyes, turned out to be a very easy thing. He Shengming continued. Later, Mr. Zhou directly asked Fuxi to send us a version of the design, and we produced it directly according to the design. So to be precise, Fuxi is the designer of Kunpeng. Kang Hui smiled and said, "It seems that we need to thank Fuxi." At this time, Kang Hui said, "The signal from the front is coming. Come, let's take a look at the scene." The TV signal switched to the front of the square. At the same time, there was also a picture of the moon. On the moon, an area was specially cleared, a flagpole was erected, and the relevant flag-raising equipment was fully prepared. The specially made national flag was also flying firmly. Like the flag of country M, it was not made of cloth at all, but a special material similar to synthetic plastic, so it could keep flying. Zubin and the other 6 people also stood near the flagpole, waiting for the camera to cut in. Zubin shouted, "Everything is ready, salute." The 6 people, facing the camera, gave a standard salute. This scene was also faithfully transmitted to the square. In the distance, the national flag guard also walked out slowly. On the square, the enthusiasm of the people had been completely ignited. Many people sang the national anthem loudly, and their eyes were filled with tears of excitement. Dare to be the first in the world. This move seems to be just a simple flag-raising ceremony, but it represents Country Z's true move into deep space, and it also announces to the world that Country Z has set foot on the moon. The time came to 7:36, and everything was ready. Accompanied by the loud national anthem, the 2 national flags on the square and on the moon were slowly raised at the same time. At this moment, office workers all over the country stopped walking, and drivers on the road also slowly stopped. Everyone took out their phones, watched the live broadcast, and sang the national anthem. Even Zhou Yang walked out of the institute, looked up at the starry sky, and his heart was surging. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338, Space Base Construction begins. Mr. Zhou, it's time to go back. You've been standing here for a long time. Li Xiao's voice rang softly, waking Zhou Yang up. Really? Zhou Yang was stunned, then came to his senses, and looked at the time. He didn't expect that he had been standing here for almost half an hour. Let's go back. Zhou Yang stood up and walked back. Li Xiao followed him and asked curiously, "Mr. Zhou, what were you thinking about just now?" Zhou Yang smiled and said, "Actually, I didn't think of anything. I just suddenly thought of my parents and our hard-working compatriots. It's the millions of people like my parents who sacrificed their lives for the rise of the country. Our country has achieved what it has today, so the glory of this moment belongs only to our country. Raising the national flag on the moon in front of countries all over the world is not just ordinary greatness. Li Xiao's face changed slightly. He stood in awe and said in a deep voice, "Mr. Zhou, you have worked hard." Zhou Yang waved his hand and said, "Okay, the flag raising is over. Let the North industry continue." A few hours ago, millions of tons of materials were transported. The outer shell alone was 40 million tons of austenite, not to mention the internal support structure and other related equipment. All of these need to be sent up by Kunpeng one by one. By the way, contact M country and send our people over to mine the 120 element mine in their underground world. Zhou Yang said again. The 120 element mine in the underground world of E country has almost been mined out. If you want the 120 element mine, you can either go to outer space to find it, or you can only look for a similar underground space. But neither of them is a simple solution. The news that the flag of Z country was raised on the moon instantly occupied the front page of the global media. Shameless as M country, pair passionately declared to all M people that after more than 50 years, M country has successfully landed on the moon again. Other countries, which are a little more reserved, report the news truthfully. Although they are not as shameless as the United States, they still pick words and use similar words like country Z, a confederation of our country Y, has successfully landed on the moon. In the past, they all tried to discredit country Z, but now they are all trying to get the attention of country Z in a roundabout way. The construction work on the moon is also continuing in full swing. People all over the world have also added a fun thing, that is, watching the live broadcast of the construction process of the lunar base. Those who have money can get a telescope and watch whatever they want. Those who don't have money, it doesn't matter. Observatories around the world, as if they had agreed, opened live broadcast channels at the same time to broadcast the construction process of the moon. On that day, Kunpeng took off and landed countless times, transporting millions of tons of supplies to the moon. In the early hours of the morning, a Kunpeng loaded with special cargo landed on the moon. The hatch opened, and in the dark cargo hold, a pair of light blue eyes actually lit up. Then, one by one, golden standard industrial robots walked out of the cargo holding uniform steps, like an army. The first batch, a full 10,000 industrial robots. The initial production of industrial robots was all used in the construction of the space base. In the research institute, Zhou Yang did not rest, staring at the situation of the industrial robots. The environment on the moon is different from that on the Earth after all, which puts extremely high requirements on the industrial robots in terms of high temperature resistance and radiation resistance. Of course, the perfect solution is to use austenitic superalloys to manufacture robots, but austenitic superalloys are not enough to make zhuo, so there is no excess production to manufacture ordinary industrial robots. So after considering it, Zhou Yang decided to use the simplest method, modern spacecraft and satellite coatings. Modern satellites and various spacecrafts also suffer from ultra-high temperature differences and space radiation in space. In order to ensure the normal operation of satellites, humans have long developed relevant special materials. The specific process is a multi-layer protective layer. There is an insulation layer inside, and a special coating on the outside. Many satellites look golden, as if they are covered with gold foil, but in fact, this layer of stuff is not gold foil, but a special material called polyamide film. This material is resistant to high temperatures and strong radiation. Of course, this material is a consumable and has limited durability. It is okay to use it on relatively stationary orbital satellites, but it is still not enough for a mecha like Zhuo that crosses the universe and moves at a speed of thousands of kilometers per second. However, industrial robots are working on the moon, so it should be better. But Zhou Yang is still unsure. It is early morning here, but on the side of the moon, where the space base is located, it is daytime on the moon. The sun is directly shining, and the surface temperature has been measured to reach 148 degrees. There is also strong direct radiation from the sun. These are huge tests for industrial robots. The first batch of robots have walked out of the cargo hold. Mr. Zhou, the robot is operating normally. The sensor shows that the temperature of the internal control system has risen by 20%. Well, It is still rising, but it is still within the normal range. Industrial robots are designed to cope with various harsh working environments, so they are IP68 dustproof and waterproof, and they are also resistant to high and low temperatures. Zhou Yang stepped forward, glanced at the various sensor data sent back by the robot, estimated the rising trend of various data, nodded slightly, and the problem was not big. Go on, build the charging area first, Zhou Yang ordered. The industrial robot and the design can be powered by direct connection or battery. At this time, it is all battery powered, so the charging area should be built first. There are a lot of materials on site, especially the flat base floor, which is large and can be quickly spliced to form a protective wall. Zhou Yang's idea is to use these floors to build a huge rest area as a rest and charging area for some important equipment and industrial robots. After the order was issued, tens of thousands of robots began to get busy, like hard-working little ants, carrying materials, cleaning the ground, and building rest areas. When it was dawn, a huge rest area with a length and width of 500 meters was built, and these actions were faithfully recorded by major observatories and broadcast live throughout the process. It was resting here in China, but in some other countries, it was daytime. Every move on the moon made them excited. So many robots, it's like an army of robots. These should be the standard industrial robots released by Matrix Energy. How many of them are there? I'm afraid there are thousands or even tens of thousands. Our company has ordered 2,000 of them, but they said they can only deliver them in 2 years. Now it seems that it may take even 2 years. I wonder how many robots are needed for such a large lunar base. It's only been a day, and they've already started construction. I used to see news saying that country Z is crazy about infrastructure, but now I understand. Chapter 339, Festo Disk. The speed of building the lunar base was amazing, and Zhou Yang also shifted his attention a little and put it on other research projects. After the scientific conference, the Academy of Sciences was quickly established, and all related projects were issued. Scientists from all over the world have also arranged their personal affairs and have successively joined the team to report, and the relevant funds have also been in place. In the first phase, a total of 427 project teams were set up. Large and small 1.78 trillion yuan was invested in research and development. Of this much money, country Z paid about 1/3, and the remaining 2/3 of the funds were all contributions from countries around the world to the space base project. Among them, country M paid the most, about 1/4, for which the Federal Reserve printed a batch of money crazily, causing the US dollar to plunge. Now the most urgent is some subsequent technical difficulties in the ecological base system. The most important of these is the ecological circulation system. This ecological circulation system can artificially imitate the operation of the ecology and the operation of the atmosphere to form clouds, rain, wind, and snow. At the same time, it can maintain a suitable temperature inside to ensure the survival of humans in the base. This is a large project, with 76 small project teams under its jurisdiction. The leaders of the entire project team are Zhang Dao, an environmental science expert from country Z, and George Pollitt, an academician of the Academy of Sciences of country M and a biologist. This George has something to say. Country M once implemented a plan in 1987 called the Biosphere Project, which cost $150 million US. This plan aims to simulate the ecological environment of the Earth, artificially create a closed Earth-like ecological environment, and study the environmental changes of the Earth. The plan lasted for 2 years, and failed as expected. The reason for the failure is very simple, that is, the situation of the Earth's ecological cycle was not understood. Although this plan is a private behavior, and invested and constructed by a subsidiary of Rockefeller, it has also been supported by the government of country M, and provided technical support. George is the scientific advisor of Biosphere 2. In terms of biology and geographical environment, George is a top scientist in the world. Zhou Yang is not too worried about this research. The failure of Biosphere 2 is not only because the basic principles of the operation of the Earth have not been understood, but the most critical point is actually energy. The fundamental reason why the Earth has a strong ecological cycle is because of the sun. With the sun, water is circulating, the atmosphere is flowing, and plants are photosynthesizing. Because of the special distance of the sun, the special atmospheric composition of the earth is formed. The driving force of all these cycles and movements is solar energy. If you want to build a qualified ecological base, the most critical thing is to solve the energy problem. The completion of controlled nuclear fusion has solved the biggest prerequisite. The rest is to design a sophisticated system driven by nuclear energy to form an ecological cycle. For example, if the air is dry, then water is evaporated artificially to humidify the air, and then the water vapor condenses to a certain degree, and heat is conducted to form clouds, rain, wind, etc. At that time, in the ecological base system, a sun will be artificially created. With Zhou Yang watching, the entire project team is progressing rapidly. The construction progress of the space base on the moon is also extremely fast. A large number of industrial robots are put into it, and it looks different almost every day. If the materials can keep up, it is expected that the construction of the outer shell of the space base will be completed by the end of January, that is, before the new year. After the new year, in March, the research of the ecological base project team here should also be completed, just in time to take over and complete the construction of the underlying circulation system of the space base. After that, it is the internal construction. Zhou Yang estimated that the construction of the space base should be completed as early as the middle of next year. At the end of December, before the Gregorian New Year, the moon suddenly sent back a piece of news that Zhou Yang did not expect. Starting from mid-December, Zhou Yang asked Zubin and others to start large-scale mapping and exploration of the moon, collect various lunar data, and draw maps. The most important thing is to explore the back of the moon. Humans have been exploring the moon for many years, but due to the special relationship between the Earth and the moon, the situation on the back of the moon was not photographed for the first time until 1959 when the Luna 3 launched by QSL took pictures of the back of the moon. There are naturally no alien bases on the back of the moon. It is similar to the front of the moon, with various mountains and craters, but there are fewer plains than on the front. On December 28, Zubin and his colleague Chen Liyuan acted together to explore the Korolev crater named by foreigners on the back of the moon. Korolev crater is the second largest crater on the back of the moon. The entire crater has a diameter of 185 kilometers. Zubin and Chen Liyuan have been exploring the outer area of the crater for a day and are now exploring the interior. At this time, the two made an unexpected discovery. A door. What kind of door? When Zhou Yang received the news, it was already that night, and he was called out of bed. The researcher who came to call Zhou Yang said, "Anyway, it's a door, a very big door. It feels like a metal door when you knock on it. There are some special patterns on the door. I don't know if it's purely decorative or has any special meaning." As they spoke, the two also came to the command center. The signal from the moon has been transmitted. In order to maintain normal communication on the back of the moon, several relay communication satellites were specially launched long ago. What Zhou Yang saw at this moment was what Zubin saw. In the picture, there was a dark door. Zubin stood far away, and it looked as high as 30 meters. The situation around the door seemed to be an underground cave, and the door was embedded in the stone. "Zubin, what's going on?" Zhou Yang asked. "Mr. Zhao, you are here." Zubin greeted him and quickly recounted what happened. It turned out that when the two were exploring the crater, they accidentally detected a hollow space under the ground near the center of the crater, about 10 meters from the ground. Out of curiosity, Zubin managed to break through the ground and then found that there was indeed an underground space similar to a passage. The passage was very narrow at the beginning and tilted downward. Judging from the situation of the passage, it might be a crack in the ground, caused by the movement of the surface. Following this crack, they went deeper than 150 meters and came to such a huge space. It was about 200 meters long, 80 meters wide, and 40 meters high, and then they found this door. Zhou Yang looked at the gate for a while and said, "Didn't they say there are patterns on the gate? Let me see." Zubin hurried to the gate and pointed at some patterns on the gate and said, "These are them. They look like circles." Zhou Yang looked closely and found that they were not circles, but a spiral structure, like a screw shell, winding around and around, and in the middle of each circle, there were some more complex patterns. Festo disc. Zhou Yang frowned slightly. Chapter 340. See for yourself. Zhou Yang is a person who likes to read books very much. After work, he has also studied many things. He is very interested in history, archaeology, etc. and has read a lot of historical materials. This Festo disc is an archaeological discovery. It was probably in 1908, at the site of the Festo Palace on the Greek island of Crete. It was a clay disc, just like the Fibonacci sequence expressed in graphics, in a spiral shape. Inside each layer of the spiral, there are unknown symbols. These symbols have not been deciphered yet. The pattern on the door in front of him is like a similar structure, but there are still many differences in the details. Can it be opened? Zhou Yang asked. Zubin shook his head and said, no, I don't see the gap in the door. It seems to be an integrated door, and this door seems to be made of a special metal. I can only leave a faint mark with a laser sword, and it is very strong. Zhou Yang fell into deep thought again. There is no doubt that this door is obviously not formed naturally, but is man-made. So, the most direct question is, who built this door? Earthlings? After thousands of years, human beings have only just landed on the moon. How could they build such a gate deep underground on the back of the moon? That must be aliens. The discovery of Red Queen proves that aliens really exist. But every civilization should have its own unique characteristics, such as writing and language, which will show different characteristics. Red Queen has been in contact for some time. During the contact with Red Queen, Zhou Yang also deliberately asked about the situation of the civilization to which Red Queen belongs. Although Red Queen was very cautious, she still leaked some relevant information about their civilization. For example, some text information of their civilization, and some special forms of decoration inside the spacecraft, are completely different from the characteristics of the symbols on the door in front of them. So where did this thing come from? Was it built by another group of aliens? Could it be that there are aliens staring at the Earth, and even built an observation station inside the moon? Zhou Yang felt a chill on his back for no reason, and his expression became extremely serious. After a moment of hesitation, Zhou Yang said, hurry up and contact North Industries, and ask them to send Zhou Yang. Li Xiao saw that Zhou Yang's expression was not right, and hurried over. 10 minutes later, Zhou Yang arrived at the institute. Zhou Yang has been producing frantically, but the output is still very limited. Hello, Chief. Major Li Xiao reports to you. Please give your instructions. The mask of Zhou Yang popped open, and a young officer saluted Zhou Yang. Come down. Zhou Yang said. Li Xiao didn't understand, but immediately turned off the mecha system, turned on the mecha and walked down. Go get me a set of combat uniforms. Zhou Yang said to Li Xiao again. Li Xiao was about to nod in agreement, but suddenly froze and hurriedly said, Mr. Zhao, do you want to use the mecha? Zhou Yang nodded. Li Xiao was anxious in an instant and said, how can that be? You haven't received professional training. If you have any accident, I will never refuse to die. Okay, stop talking nonsense. Go quickly. Why don't you even listen to me? Zhou Yang's tone became heavier. Li Xiao gritted his teeth and had to go. But when he came back, in addition to getting a set of combat uniforms, Yi Rongming and others in the institute were all alarmed. Mr. Zhao, what are you going to do? If you have anything to do, just give me an order. Why do you have to drive the mecha yourself? It's too dangerous. Yi Rongming said hurriedly. Long Jianjun beside him also nodded repeatedly, looking nervous. Although Zhou Yang had driven the Dragon Soul before, that was the Dragon Soul, and the speed was limited. But the Zhou Yang was different. The speed was 3000 km per second. Without professional training and a strong physique, it was impossible to drive the Zhou Yang perfectly. And why did Zhou Yang want to drive the Zhou Yang? It was obviously not a trivial matter to be able to use the Zhou Yang. Zhou Yang took the combat uniform and started to change directly, and then said, okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm worried about the thing on the moon, and I must go and see it myself. As he spoke, Zhou Yang had quickly changed into the combat uniform and boarded the Zhou Yang directly. Long Jianjun was sweating anxiously, and he wanted to come up and drag Zhou Yang down, but he didn't dare. The mecha closed. Liu Yui started, and he still needed the identity bracelet to identify, but Zhou Yang didn't need it at all. Zhou Yang has the highest authority. The mecha was started, and the system voice sounded. "Welcome, Mr. Zhao." There was even some trepidation in the voice. Obviously, the artificial intelligence of the Zhuaniuan also knew that Zhou Yang's identity was not ordinary. "Bring Fuxi in," Zhou Yang said. The artificial intelligence in front of him also had limited authority. The highest authority must be Fuxi. "Okay, sir." The voice of the artificial intelligence disappeared immediately. Soon, Fuxi's voice sounded. "Sir, you are a little impulsive. I know what you are worried about, but there is no need to take risks yourself." Fuxi almost instantly figured out the cause and effect and guessed Zhou Yang's thoughts. This is Fuxi, who has the highest authority and has unimpeded access to confidential information. Zhou Yang shook his head and said, "No, I'm still not sure. I must go and see it myself." "Okay, take off." Fuxi sighed and said, "Okay." Then, Fuxi quickly took over the Zhuaniuan, controlled the Zhuaniuan to take off, and rushed out of the research institute. Watching the Zhuaniuan disappear, Li Ziyu was so anxious that she almost cried and said, "What should we do now? What should we do? Report it quickly." Long Jianjun stamped his feet anxiously and ran out. Soon, the news that Zhou Yang drove the Zhuaniuan to the moon reached the ears of the higher-ups, which scared them. Li Xianshu, who heard the news, almost fell off the bed. After asking the reason, he realized that he could not stop it, so he immediately ordered all the existing 85 Zhuaniuans to take off urgently to escort Zhou Yang and ensure Zhou Yang's safety. At this time, Zhou Yang had already passed through the atmosphere. Fuxi was not fast because he was afraid that Zhou Yang could not withstand the acceleration. It was also the first time for Zhou Yang to enter space. Looking at the azure earth under his feet, he also had a special feeling. At this time, whoosh whoosh whoosh, dozens of Zhuaniuans appeared beside Zhou Yang. "Mr. Zhao, Wu Zhenqi, the captain of the 2nd Brigade of the Space Force, reports to you. We will protect your safety from now on." On the right, a Zhuaniuan saluted Zhou Yang, and a steady voice came in. Zhou Yang immediately understood that this was sent by the higher-ups to protect him. Looking around, there were dozens of Zhuaniuans, which was really a big scene. With so many Zhuaniuans, it would not be a problem to destroy the United States. "Then follow them," Zhou Yang said. "Just in case, these Zhuaniuans might be useful at the door." Chapter 341 Civilization Heritage. 10 minutes later, Zhou Yang arrived at the door. "Mr. Zhao, why did you come in person?" Seeing Zhou Yang coming in person, Zubin was also shocked. Zhou Yang waved his hand and said, "Don't say more to persuade me. I'm a little worried and must come to take a look." "Uneasy?" Zubin looked at the door in front of him. Zhou Yang said he was worried, so it must be no small matter. Zhou Yang's eyes fell on the entire door. "Sir, the pattern on the door has been scanned." Fuchs's voice sounded. Zhou Yang asked, "Is there any pattern?" Zhou Yang speculated that the pattern on the door might be a way to record information, and the special symbols in the spiral pattern might be words. Fuxi said, "It is somewhat similar to cuneiform. For example, these places and here, there are similarities between the symbols. They may be of the same lineage and have an inheritance relationship." Zhou Yang nodded slightly. He had discovered before that these symbols had some similarities with cuneiform. Cuneiform originated from the Sumerian civilization, which is the oldest civilization discovered by humans. It began around 4,0 BC. At this time, Chinese civilization had not yet been truly born. As far as Zhou Yang knows, the academic community actually has many questions about the Sumerian civilization. Some people even say that the Sumerian civilization was created by aliens, because at that time, the things created by the Sumerian civilization were incredible. For example, they discovered the solar calendar and built pyramids to worship gods. In their records, the gods all came from the depths of the starry sky, and a star represented a god. All signs show that the Sumerian civilization has advanced knowledge, just like the Mayan civilization and the legendary Atlantis civilization that disappeared. And now, Zhou Yang's feeling is getting stronger. Zhou Yang feels that, even if the Sumerian civilization was not built by aliens, it must be related to aliens, or it has inherited some of the civilization content of aliens. At this time, Fuchsie said, "Sir, if we speculate, based on the content of the cuneiform script, then these spiral patterns, each of which should record an event. I speculate that from the top of the gate to the bottom, there is a mutual inheritance order, which may be a record of the history of a civilization according to the historical trajectory. For example, this section records a good harvest." Zhou Yang's eyes appeared Fuchs's deciphering of the content and the comparison of cuneiform script. This section seems to record the coming of a disaster. Fuchsie picked up the content that could be compared and narrated his speculations to Zhou Yang one by one. Gradually, Zhou Yang also outlined the history of the rise and fall of a civilization. For example, the origin of civilization, starting from the invention of the wheel, the cultivation of plants, and the domestication of wild beasts, continued to develop, and the worship of gods appeared. These are all in line with the history of the development of civilization. But sir, the content I'm talking about now only occupies about 1/10 of the gate. Starting from the bottom, it can be clearly seen that their writing has changed and evolved more reasonably. Fuchsie said. Zhou Yang nodded and said, "This shows that their civilization is evolving rapidly. Writing is the most important and core thing of a civilization. It allows humans to communicate, record information, and pass on information. Only by passing on the accumulated experience of the ancestors in full and constantly improving and evolving, can civilization continue to develop. 1/10 of the process is like the primary stage of a civilization, and the top is the clan tribal civilization. If the development of civilization is compared to a game, then this stage is at most in the novice village. And then, the writing has a huge change, which means that it has gone out of the novice village and started to develop towns. 9/10. Zhou Yang frowned slightly. He felt that this civilization may have developed to a very high level, to the point where it can cross the planet and build this gate on the moon. The key is whether this civilization is an alien or developed on Earth. Zhou Yang is more inclined to the latter. If aliens visit, there is no need to leave information about their civilization history on the moon, such as recording the glory of civilization. On the contrary, the civilization developed on Earth continues to develop and can land on the moon, and then for some reasons, it leaves the history of their civilization development on the moon, like a monument. "Mr. Zhao, what should we do next?" Zubin asked softly. Zhou Yang came over and stood in front of the door motionless. It has been more than 10 minutes. Zhou Yang came back to his senses, thought for a while and said, "You dig along the gate and dig out the overall structure of this door for me." "Yes." Zubin and others did not waste words and immediately started to act. They arranged some people to go back to the space base to get the appropriate tools, while Zubin himself led everyone forward and punched the cave walls on the left and right of the gate. The hard moonstone exploded like tofu. Dozens of Zuanians worked together, and the excavation speed was extremely fast. It can be clearly seen that a wall with a similar material to the gate appeared on both sides of the gate. Zhou Yang speculated that the things behind the gate should be not small. "Fuchsie, do you think there has been a highly developed civilization in the history of the Earth?" Zhou Yang asked softly. Fuchsie was silent for a moment and said, "According to my idea, there should be a high probability that civilization has appeared in the history of the Earth. The Earth has existed for 4.6 billion years, and the recorded history of human development is only 5,000 to 6,000 years. If the history of apes is included, the earliest apes appeared only about 3.6 million years ago. 3.6 million years is really not worth mentioning compared to the long life of the Earth. In this long history, it is inevitable that a civilization like humans will be born." Zhou Yang nodded slightly. "The history of the Earth is too long. Humans have only been around for a few million years, since the beginning of apes. It is really too short. Why can't we develop the same civilization in such a long time?" There is also some evidence. For example, F Country once excavated a semi-oval metal tube. According to the dating, it was found that this thing existed 65 million years ago, which was the era of dinosaurs. In that era, there were artificially processed metal tubes, which obviously cannot be explained. There are many such examples. A fossil of a human finger was found in limestone in the Arctic region of J&E, and the dating was traced back to 110 million years ago. A human footprint fossil was found in the shale sedimentary layer in the Delta region of Utah, USA. Judging from the shape of the footprint, it may have been left by wearing sandals, and its history can be traced back to 300 to 600 million years ago. All signs indicate that there may have been a highly developed civilization on Earth before humans. Civilizations like the Sumerian civilization and the Mayan civilization, which have advanced knowledge, may have just inherited the legacy of the previous civilization. Then this door in front of us is very likely also a legacy of ancient civilization. Chapter 342 Super High Temperature Resistant Materials. With a long sigh, Zhou Yang stopped thinking about it. Let's dig out the things first. As for who left this thing, it won't be too late to slowly study it after it is dug out. Zubin ordered to directly pull all the industrial robots from the space base over with Kunpeng, and then tens of thousands of industrial robots started digging together, and the efficiency was much higher. Zhou Yang also got in touch with the ground. Mr. Zhao, are you okay? Li Xianshu appeared in the video. Li Xianshu was sweating profusely, and it was unknown whether he was anxious or scared. Don't worry, it's okay, Zhou Yang said. Li Xianshu breathed a sigh of relief and said quickly, Mr. Zhao, you can't do this again in the future. If you make any mistakes, how can I explain to the people of the country? If you have anything to do in the future, just order them to do it. There is no need to put yourself in danger like this. Put yourself in danger? Zhou Yang smiled and said, it's not that serious. I'm wearing the Zuanilan. Even if you don't believe me, you should believe in the ability of the Zuanilan. Besides, there are no enemies in space. I feel safer than going abroad. Even if the Confederation is formed now, Zhou Yang dare not go abroad, for fear that some crazy country will go all in and kill Zhou Yang. Of course, such a thing is unlikely to happen. If Zhou Yang is really killed, then just destroy the country directly. Country Z will never spare them. Li Xianshu was at a loss for words and said, Mr. Zhao, this joke is not funny. Zhou Yang said, it's a good thing that you are here. Contact Northern Industries. They have made a batch of space machinery. Arrange to send it up as soon as possible. It will be useful. This thing is 150 meters underground. The area is unknown. Just digging out the soil layer above is not a small project. I'll contact you right away. Li Xianshu wrote it down and asked, Mr. Zhao, what did you find above? The discovery that Zhou Yang was so concerned about and personally went to check it out was obviously not a small discovery. Zhou Yang said, let's talk about it alone. Li Xianshu's face changed slightly. Many researchers present looked at each other and left without saying much. It's not that he didn't believe them, but Zhou Yang felt that the fewer people knew about this kind of thing, the better. After everyone left, Zhou Yang said, there is a door here. Li Xianshu nodded. He already knew about this matter. The key now is who built this door. Obviously it wasn't us. Zhou Yang said. Li Xianshu's face suddenly changed. He was just nervous about Zhou Yang, but didn't think deeply about the door. Now that Zhou Yang said this, he suddenly remembered that this matter was unusual. A door is not important. The key is who built the door and built it on the moon. Aliens? Li Xianshu said tentatively. The discovery of the Red Queen proved that aliens really exist. Zhou Yang nodded and shook his head, saying, it's hard to say now, but I'm more inclined to believe that this was built by our Earth civilization. Earth civilization? Li Xianshu was stunned, and it took him a while to come to his senses. He exclaimed, you mean prehistoric civilization? Zhou Yang nodded solemnly and said, there is a great possibility. I think that behind this door on the moon, there may be a base-like existence, which may be a defensive measure, but why it was abandoned, or whether it was used, and the purpose of its construction are all big questions. After a pause, Zhou Yang said, but I hope that this is a legacy left to us by the previous generation of civilization. After all, we are of the same origin and all originated from the same Earth. Li Xianshu's heart was shocked. Such a discovery was too shocking. If it was made public, it would shock the whole world. Calming down, Li Xianshu said, fortunately, this thing is on the back of the moon. At this time, no one can get involved except us. then everything can be excavated first, and then make a decision. I will arrange for engineering machinery to go to the moon. Zhou Yang nodded. Indeed, if it was not dug out, everything was speculation. Soon, a batch of specially manufactured space machinery was sent to the moon. Again, the environment on the moon is completely different from that on the Earth, so engineering machinery must also be specially manufactured. The arrival of a large number of engineering machinery has greatly accelerated the excavation speed. After 3 days of non-stop excavation around the clock, the soil layer above the gate has been completely dug out, and the structure of the gate has also been revealed. As Zhou Yang expected, this thing should be a base. The base is square, and what is exposed now should be just the tip of the iceberg. The excavated area is also seamless, and there is no possibility of entry. For now, the only solution is to continue excavating. At the same time, there are also discoveries in the research on the material of the metal gate. Long before, Zhou Yang asked Zubin to get some fragments of the gate, and then took it back to the institute for a search. After element determination, Zhou Yang basically figured out the elemental composition of this metal. It is an alloy, and all the elements are found on Earth. This also indirectly confirmed Zhou Yang's speculation that, if it is foreign goods, it is very likely to have elements that do not exist on Earth. Mr. Zhao, how exactly is this alloy made? This dense structure is so wonderful. Zhu Chen beside him exclaimed. Under the electron microscope, the internal structure of this metal is also clearly visible. It can be seen that the metal is like cells, stacked layer by layer. Zhou Yang was looking through some basic test data. The test results are amazing. For example, this metal can withstand a high temperature of 11,000 degrees, which is simply incredible. You must know that the most artificially synthesized high temperature resistant material is tantalum hafnium pentacarbide, which has a melting point of 40 to 15 degrees Celsius. Of course, after the emergence of austenitic superalloys, this world record has been broken. Austenitic superalloys can withstand a high temperature of 5,300 degrees, and the high temperature resistance of this alloy is almost twice that of austenitic superalloys. Other superhardness and so on, needless to say, are far more than austenitic superalloys. Thinking of this, Zhou Yang felt that this door alone was of extraordinary value. It is still unknown how thick this door is, but even if it is only 1 meter, it should weigh several thousand tons. I don't know how it was made, but maybe we'll know if we open it. Zhou Yang put down the experimental data and felt that it was necessary to open the door. As for how to open it, it's very simple. Use high temperature. As long as you are metal, it will always melt under high temperature. High temperature resistance of 11,000 degrees is nothing at all. The highest temperature that humans can create even reaches 100 trillion degrees Celsius. Although this high temperature can only last for a few femtoseconds, and a femtosecond is 1 quadrillionth of a second. So as long as you are willing, it is easy to open this door. Chapter 343 The Wrong Technology Tree. Lin Dawei had urgently developed a super high power laser cutting equipment, which was ready to go, and could be used at any time. The next day, Zhou Yang went to the moon again, after everything was ready. On the back of the moon, a full square kilometer of the base had been excavated. Mr. Zhao, the equipment has been installed, and can be started at any time. A young man ran over. He was the assistant brought by Lin Dawei, named Zhu Letian. As his name suggests, he was also a lively optimist. At this time, he was excited to land on the moon for the first time wearing a mecha. Zhou Yang nodded and said, then clear the area, and get ready to start. For safety, Zhou Yang took off, and observed the actions below from a distance of more than 1,000 meters. In front of the gate, a room similar to a glass house has been set up around the gate. It looks like glass, but it is actually a special light transmitting material with extremely high strength. The purpose of setting up this glass house is to prevent the vacuum environment behind the door from being cut open. After the door is cut open, the vacuum and super cold temperature will invade and damage the internal structure. At the same time, a high power laser generator has been placed 3 meters away from the gate. The power source directly pulled a Kunpeng over and used the nuclear fusion energy on Kunpeng. Let's start, Mr. Zhao, Zhu Letian said below, and turned on the laser generator. A laser as thick as a thumb shot out and shone on the gate. In just a moment, the gate was penetrated and melted. Although the laser is not very good, the temperature is not low, reaching hundreds of thousands of degrees Celsius. It is easy to melt the gate. At the same time, in order to avoid damaging the internal structure of the base, the hull is also protected by a magnetic field like a laser weapon, forming a specific laser with a length of about 5 meters. The distance of 5 meters should be enough to penetrate the entire gate without damaging the things behind the door. The laser generator began to move and cut a door on the gate. The whole process took only a few minutes. Okay, Mr. Zhou. Zhu stopped the laser generator. Mr. Zhou, we go first, Zubin said, and rushed down with his men. Zhou Yang hesitated for a moment and did not follow him. Instead, he took in Zubin's perspective to check the situation inside the door. Zubin and others entered the glass room and came to the cut door. They went straight forward and pushed the cut metal block. The weight of dozens of tons was naturally effortless. The metal block was pushed open, accompanied by the sound of gas overflowing. Behind the door, the world that had been sealed for many years finally opened up to Zhou Yang. Mr. Zhou, there is air inside, and the air content is similar to the composition of the Earth's atmosphere. Zhu checked the data and said. Zhou Yang nodded. It was similar to the composition of the Earth's atmosphere, which proved that this thing was built by the Earth civilization. Go in, Zhou Yang said. Zubin took a deep breath and walked in first. Zhou Yang also saw the situation inside in real time. He saw that behind the door was a straight passage. Judging from the structure, it seemed to be an airtight cabin structure. This kind of thing is a relay station in the middle of the spacecraft with atmospheric pressure to the vacuum of space. The passage is the same width as the door, 80 meters wide and 30 meters deep. It seems that it was built so large, probably for the passage of large equipment. The entire space was empty and empty. Zubin carefully went deeper and deeper and came to a door inside. It was exactly the same as the door outside. Keep cutting. Zhou Yang gave the order before Zubin could say more. Half an hour later, the relocated laser generator started again and cut the inner door. Pushing the cut metal block again, Zubin stepped in. Inside, it was an extremely huge space. Neon emitted light, illuminating the entire space. Under the light, many things were illuminated. The first thing Zhou Yang noticed was a huge trapezoidal black shadow. After a careful look, Zhou Yang was excited. It turned out to be a spaceship. This structure, this size, is definitely a spaceship. Zubin and others were also completely stunned. What appeared in front of them was not just one spaceship, but many, of different sizes and styles. At the same time, what was even more shocking was that on a piece of open space on the left-hand side, there were rows of mechas standing like an army. This mecha has a special structure, with a height of about 5 meters. In addition to hands and feet, there is an obvious cockpit in the chest and abdomen. The overall structure is more like the Apple mecha in the Matrix. Zhou Yang couldn't help it anymore, and he flashed to the front of the door, opened the airtight room, and entered the door. Mr. Zhou, how did you get here? Zubin was surprised when he saw Zhou Yang. Zhou Yang waved his hand and looked at the whole space with the help of the lights of the crowd. The space in front of him should be similar to the hangar, with a length and width of about 3,000 meters. The top of the head is not low, it is 100 meters high, and it can be clearly seen that there should be an exit passage above the head, which can be opened to facilitate the exit of large spacecraft. There are many passages and doors around the hangar, and they are all closed at this moment. Mr. Zhou, this door can be pushed open. A soldier pulled open the closed door in front of a door not far away. Zhou Yang said, it should be that there is no energy. All the electric doors are ineffective. You can push them open directly. Spread out, 2 by 2, and explore the entire base. Be careful. Zubin nodded and waved his hand. Everyone quickly dispersed. He himself followed Zhou Yang closely. Zhou Yang came to the mecha on the left. Sir, the structure of this mecha is a bit rough, and it should be battery powered. Fuxi said. Zhou Yang stepped forward and carefully examined the mecha. The whole mecha is equivalent to an exoskeleton mecha. The driver should be sitting in the chest and abdomen of the mecha. There is no protective cover here, so it is speculated that it may be used in an atmospheric environment or directly wearing a spacesuit to fight in space. Zhou Yang noticed the weapon. It turned out to be a rotary barrel weapon with a structure similar to that of a Gatling gun. The magazine was hung on both sides of the mecha's abdomen. Zhou Yang stepped forward, opened the magazine, and took out a brass bullet that was slightly oxidized. He broke it open and found that it was actually gunpowder. They're using thermal weapons. Zhou Yang looked incredulous. They've even developed spaceships, but they are still using mechas that use thermal weapons. With Earth's current technology, even if Zhou Yang hadn't appeared, they could probably develop mechas like this in another 10 or 20 years. But spaceships and building bases in space are high-tech that's several generations ahead of Earth. Did the technology tree go astray? Zhou Yang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This kind of thing is not impossible. Chapter 344. Inside the spaceship. The development of civilization is somewhat accidental. It is entirely possible that the technology tree was chosen in the wrong way. Zhou Yang's eyes fell on the spaceship in the distance. In this hangar, there are a total of 6 spaceships, with a total of 3 sizes, 3 400 meter long, 2 600 meter long, and the longest one is nearly 1000 meters. The spaceship is trapezoidal in shape, narrow at the top and wide at the bottom, and streamlined at the corners, which makes Zhou Yang a little confused. The streamlined spaceship is designed because of atmospheric resistance, but in the vacuum environment of the universe, there is no atmospheric obstruction, and the shape of the spaceship is actually not important at all, and it can fly, no matter how weird it is. Round and integrated, making a triangle, diamond, or even a circle is more suitable in terms of structural stability. It's actually riveted. Seeing the rows of rivet structures on the spaceship, Zhou Yang was speechless. Moreover, on the outside of the spaceship, there are many designs that look like flip covers, which are arranged on the top and both sides of the spaceship. They look like naval guns, string guns, etc. Even the spaceship has been manufactured, but in terms of specific design and processing technology, it is still so backward, which is really a bit inconsistent. Zhou Yang couldn't understand whether the Earth civilization at this level was really advanced or backward. Mr. Zhou, do you want to open it? Zubin asked. On one side of the spaceship, there is an obvious hatch structure. Open it. Zhou Yang nodded. Zubin did not hesitate, stepped forward and pulled hard, but it didn't open, then pushed left and right, and found that it could be pushed open. It should have been electrically driven, but now there is no energy, so it has failed. Zhou Yang also floated up and entered the hatch. Behind the hatch, there should be an airtight room, and Zubin has opened the inner door. Zhou Yang did not hesitate to enter the interior of the spaceship. Inside the spaceship, there is a long and silent corridor, a closed hatch, and there is no sign of human activity, let alone any traces of battle. The whole looks like an abandoned spaceship. The interior of the spaceship is not large. After all, the volume is here. As Zhou Yang expected, there are also living areas, weapons, and equipment areas, power areas, and command centers. In the weapons and equipment area, Zhou Yang saw rows of artillery shells, and he felt even more strange. Artillery shells are obviously not suitable for fighting in the starry sky. First of all, the initial velocity of the artillery shells is too slow, several thousand meters per second, which is really pitifully slow in the universe. Moreover, in a vacuum environment, there is no air as a medium, and the energy generated by the explosion cannot be transmitted outward on a large scale, causing greater damage. In theory, after the artillery shells are launched, they can fly infinitely, but in fact, there are various particles and dust in the universe, which will slow down the speed of the artillery shells after colliding with the artillery shells. In short, using artillery shells to fight in the universe is extremely stupid. After coming to the back half of the spacecraft and seeing the power area, Zhou Yang was even more speechless. After all, it is a spacecraft, but it still uses rocket propulsion. This thing is really a bit backward. The key is that the speed is too slow, and there are big problems with takeoff and landing. Zhou Yang stopped and felt that there was something wrong. The technological level displayed by this spacecraft is about the same as the current Earth technology. Of course, the Earth technology before Zhou Yang appeared may be a little more advanced, but not much more advanced. but this kind of technology can actually land on the back of the moon and even build a base on the back of the moon. This is simply incredible. Zhou Yang speculated that there must be a special reason. Let's go and take a look at the front. Zhou Yang led the way to the front of the spacecraft. This should be the living area and the functional command center. The living area is simply furnished. It can be seen that there should be a lot of crew members on the original spacecraft. The living area is set up as narrow as a submarine. There are still many abandoned things in the living area, but they have existed for too long and have long been decayed. For example, some blankets and so on almost shattered as soon as they were touched. Spread out and look for books or something. Zhou Yang said to Zubin. What he cares most about is the written records. Zubin hesitated for a moment, thinking that the danger in the spacecraft should not be great, so he separated from Zhou Yang and went to search by himself. A few minutes later, Zubin suddenly shouted, "Mr. Zhou, this way." Zhou Yang followed the sound and found Zubin in a separate compartment. The compartment was not big, about 10 square meters. However, being able to have a single room of 10 square meters in such a narrow spaceship, it is conceivable that the owner of this single room is not ordinary. There is a bed and a desk in the compartment. The key is that there are several books on the desk. Those books have turned into ashes. Among the ashes, there is a notebook-style book. Although it is covered with dust, it looks well preserved. Zhou Yang touched it carefully and found that the notebook did not turn into ashes. It may be because of the special material of the paper and the relatively stable environment inside the spacecraft, so that it can be preserved intact. Turning to the first page, there is a line of words written, which looks like a name. "Sir, this may be a diary." Fuchs's voice sounded. Zhou Yang nodded and continued to turn. There were a lot of contents recorded on each page, but the text was completely incomprehensible. It was not the simple spiral pattern text before, but a more complex text system that had obviously evolved. There was a shadow of cuneiform, but it was not exactly the same. Record it first, and then slowly decipher it. Zhou Yang sighed lightly, kept turning the pages, and let Fuxi scan the text on it. After flipping through the pages, he carefully closed the door and asked Zubin to put it away. "Let's go to the command center," Zhou Yang said. Zubin nodded and followed immediately. The command center should be at the top of the spacecraft, with a series of hatches in the middle. Fortunately, the power of the spacecraft has disappeared and all the doors have failed, so they can be opened with a push. After opening another door, Zhou Yang entered an open room. There was a row of control panels in front, and then blackened portholes. But what surprised Zhou Yang the most was that in the center of the room, there was a metal box like a coffin, which looked like a hibernation chamber. "Mr. Zhou, there's someone in here." Zubin walked over and exclaimed, and was shocked. Zhou Yang also hurried forward, and was surprised to find that there was a glass window left on the front of the box. Through the glass window, you can clearly see that the inside seems to be ice like crystals, and then there is a person in the ice. A young woman with short hair, handsome features, and looks like a human. At the same time, Zhou Yang noticed that half of the woman's body was covered with metal structure, making her look like a robot. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345 Mechanical Life. Zhou Yang couldn't see Zubin's expression, but it must be ugly. Anyone who sees a living person lying in this sealed spaceship for who knows how many years will feel creepy. Zhou Yang didn't think there was anything wrong, but was a little excited. In Zhou Yang's eyes, this is not a human, but a living fossil specimen of prehistoric civilization. Bending down, Zhou Yang looked at the woman carefully. Judging from her appearance, she is very similar to humans, with yellow skin, but she has deep eye sockets and a high nose bridge like white people, and her facial features are very delicate. Then there is a mechanical structure on her body. From the half shoulder, exposed by the vest, it is completely covered with metal, and the internal mechanical structure can be clearly seen. Mechanical life. Zhou Yang was surprised. There are many similar science fiction movies, usually with limbs injured and then replaced with mechanical prostheses. But whether this kind of life is possible is obviously a question mark. How can a completely mechanical structure replace the life structure and still receive the nerve signals of a living body? The difficulty is very large. In Zhou Yang's opinion, it should be impossible. However, the woman in front of him confirmed that this was possible. It is very worth studying. Zhou Yang carefully checked the structure of the entire dome and chamber. There should be no external power supply, and the way to store life is not like what Zhou Yang guessed, using extremely cold gas to freeze people. Instead, it seems to use a special crystal to seal people inside. This method reminded Zhou Yang of the crystal outside the Red Queen's spaceship. Mr. Zhou, what should we do with this thing? Should we open it? Zubin asked. Zhou Yang stood up and said, of course we have to open it, but we can't open it here. Go, call someone to pull this thing back to Earth. Zubin nodded, and immediately called 2 team members to lift the dome and chamber out of the spaceship. Zhou Yang was also looking for a power source to start the spaceship, but after searching for a while, he didn't find it. Now it seems that the internal structure can only be truly determined after the spaceship is dismantled. But even the thrusters are still rocket engines. Zhou Yang estimated that this spaceship would not use nuclear energy. It is very likely that it is a generator set to power the entire spaceship. Zubin, arrange for someone to find a way to fix the smallest spaceship on top of the Kunpeng's cargo hold and then tow it back directly. Oh, and take 2 mechas back, Zhou Yang ordered. Zubin nodded and went immediately. By the way, did anyone else find anything? Zhou Yang asked again in the communication channel. Nothing special. I found a warehouse here with a lot of mechanical parts piled up. I found some supplies here, but they have all been weathered. In the communication channel, one team member responded. In general, there was no big discovery. This base was more like a transit military base, storing mechas and spaceships. Arrange people to conduct a more detailed search of the entire base, and Zhou Yang took the lead to return to Earth. Landing at the research institute, a group of people quickly greeted them, and the leader was Li Xianshu. Mr. Zhou, are you okay over there? Li Xianshu asked worriedly. Zhou Yang smiled and said, what can happen? But this time, there is really a big discovery, which may rewrite the history of our human civilization. Li Xianshu's face changed slightly, and he asked in a low voice, did we really discover prehistoric civilization? Zhou Yang nodded and said, it seems to be the case now. As he spoke, Kunpeng also slowly appeared above his head. The 400-meter-long spacecraft, black, fell from the sky, giving people a pressure that is difficult to describe in words. Li Xianshu and others couldn't help but open their mouths. What is this? It's an alien spacecraft. It's definitely an alien spacecraft. Damn, where did it come from? Quick, let the Air Defense Force prepare. Long Jianjin's face changed drastically, and he was nervous about arranging air defense forces. Zhou Yang hurriedly stopped everyone and said, don't be nervous. This spacecraft is what I found on the moon. What? Everyone was shocked. How could there be such a large spaceship hidden on the back of the moon? Could it be owned by aliens again? This is too terrifying. How many aliens are watching us? Li Xianshu's expression was extremely solemn. He nervously stared at the Kunpeng slowly landing, then asked, Mr. Zhou, is this what was found in the base? Zhou Yang nodded and said, yes, this is still small. The largest one is 1000 meters long. 1000 meters long? Li Xianshu widened his eyes. His expression became more serious, and he said, doesn't that mean that this prehistoric civilization has far more technology than us? Zhou Yang shook his head slightly and said, not necessarily. I think that this prehistoric civilization may have chosen the wrong technology tree and taken the wrong direction of technological development. The reason they have the strength to build a base on the moon may be that they accidentally broke through the relevant technology or developed some technology to the extreme. There is no nuclear power, no curvature engine, and they use rocket engines to send spacecraft to the moon. This rocket technology is obviously not ordinary. It may be the fuel or the engine design. It must be a huge breakthrough in some aspect. However, these are Zhou Yang's guesses. We have to dismantle the spacecraft for a search to know. At this time, the cargo door opened, and several industrial robots, carrying the dome and capsule and 2 mechas came out. Seeing the mechas, no one reacted much. but seeing the dormant capsule, they were all shocked. "Oh my god, aliens!" Lee Bing-sun exclaimed and hurried forward to check. At first glance, Lee Bing-sun screamed again, "Why do these aliens look so much like us?" Li Xianshu also hurried forward and was also shocked when he saw the woman in the dormant capsule. For a moment, everyone's face changed drastically and their breathing became heavy. Zhou Yang looked calm and said, "Okay, it's just an alien. What's so good about it? And it's not certain whether it is an alien. Send it in quickly, organize people, and open the dormant capsule." Li Xianshu was stunned and hurriedly said, "Mr. Zhao, if this dormant capsule is opened, will the aliens be resurrected?" Everyone's expressions were also different. In the movies, a hibernation chamber can keep a person asleep for tens of thousands of years without dying, and when the time is right, they can be resurrected. The thought of a living alien makes my scalp tingle. Zhou Yang said, "It would be great if they could be resurrected. After resurrection, direct contact can give us a deeper understanding of this prehistoric civilization. For example, why did they disappear? Did they disappear, or did they leave the Earth and go to a more suitable place to survive? If it is the latter, then where did they go, and after so many years, how far have they developed?" These are all extremely valuable for research. Chapter 346 Modified Single Crystal Silicon. The hibernation capsule outside was opened, revealing the crystal structure inside. The woman's appearance was also completely exposed. 70% of the entire body is mechanical structure, leaving only a head, half of the body, and the right arm is living tissue. Zhou Yang speculated that the woman's internal organs and other key organs should have been replaced by mechanical structures. Under such circumstances, it is incredible that she can still survive. It is just like the scene in a science fiction movie, where a person can survive with only a head left. Then there is the crystal wrapped outside. After testing, it was found that it has extremely high density and strength. Ordinary cutting methods cannot damage it at all. Even with high intensity lasers, it can only be polished slowly. I wanted to take some samples for testing, but I couldn't do it. This is exactly the same material as the outside of the alien spacecraft of Country M. Is it the same technology? Zhu Chen speculated. Zhou Yang hugged his arms and thought for a while, and said, "Whether it is the same, you can ask, and you will know." It has been a long time since Zhou Yang paid much attention to the Red Queen. Now this alien spaceship is still sealed in the research institute. Every once in a while, the institute will send people to do some research in a formal manner. They say that they are measuring the data of parts and components, but in fact, they are just trying to spy on the internal structure of the spaceship. Unfortunately, the Red Queen is very cautious and has not allowed Zhou Yang and others to go deep into other areas of the spaceship. Pick any of the parts that the Red Queen needs and make it, and then send it to me, Zhou Yang said. Since he is going to ask someone, he can't go empty-handed. The parts that the Red Queen needs can be easily made after mastering the magnetic field constraints and one-piece molding technology of their civilization. A part for the power system was urgently made, and Zhou Yang brought it to the interior of the spaceship. Without calling, the Red Queen appeared out of thin air. After quietly looking at Zhou Yang, the Red Queen said, "You are finally willing to show up." There is some resentment in her words, like a bullied young wife. Zhou Yang said, "Recently, there are a lot of things going on. You have accessed the internet in Country M before, and learned about the situation on Earth. You should know how important I'm in Country Z. There are countless things waiting for me to do every day. By the way, we finally made a breakthrough in the technology you provided, but the key material of the magnetic field generator does not meet the standard. If the power increases, the generator will soon be damaged, so now we can only produce the smallest parts." As he said, Zhou Yang held up a part for Red Queen to see. A very small curved ceiling metal gasket. Red Queen was happy. Zhou Yang had not appeared for more than half a year. She once suspected that Zhou Yang was fooling her, cheating her of the technology, and then ignoring her. But now it seems that Zhou Yang is not ignoring her. Look, the parts have been made. As for why he has not appeared, it is probably, as Zhou Yang said, too busy with work. According to Red Queen's understanding, Zhou Yang should be the chief scientist on this planet, and it is normal for him to be busy. Very good. You said that the magnetic field generator is not durable after increasing the power. It may be that there are no relevant materials on your Earth that meet our technical requirements. I have some discarded metal parts here. You can take them and melt them down for reuse. Red Queen thought for a while and said, "Oh, if that's the case, it would be the best." Zhou Yang said hurriedly, but he shook his head secretly in his heart. This alien is still very easy to fool. I'll take you there. Red Queen led the way personally. Zhou Yang followed and asked as they walked, "By the way, what material is this crystal covering the outside of your spaceship? It's very strong. We are considering how to help you repair your spaceship, so this layer of protective crystal material on the outside should also be cleaned up." Han Queen was slightly stunned and said, "I forgot about this question. Yes, if the spaceship is repaired, this layer of protective material must also be cleaned up." Zhou Yang nodded secretly and asked, "Then how do we clean it? And what exactly is this material, and why is it so strong? We tried our best, but couldn't clean it quickly." Han Queen smiled and said, "This is a modified single crystal silicon. It is a special compound born from pure single crystal silicon under high temperature and high pressure conditions, just like diamonds on your Earth." Oh. The chemical composition of crystal is silicon dioxide, so Zhou Yang had guessed before that this special crystal material might be some kind of silicon compound, but he didn't expect it to be synthesized in a similar way to diamonds. Red Queen continued, "Yes, according to the scientific terms on your Earth, it is a special compound formed by single crystal silicon under ultra high temperature and ultra high pressure conditions. The specific conditions are about 2300 degrees Celsius and 2.40 Pa. At the same time, during the preparation process, trivalent oxygen must be added as a catalyst so that a sufficiently large range of modified single crystal silicon can be formed in the rapidly diffusing trivalent oxygen gas." Zhou Yang was slightly surprised. The synthesis conditions were not low. The temperature was easy to say, more than 2000 degrees was nothing. The key was the pressure condition. TPA is a unit of pressure, which is 10 to the 12th power of Pa. In terms of standard atmospheric pressure, 1 TPA is 10 million standard atmospheric pressures. You can imagine how great this pressure is. Of course, with current technical conditions, this level of pressure can still be achieved. For example, the diamond anvil. This thing uses 2 diamonds to press against each other like a press, and a pressure of 1 TPA can be easily achieved. But 2.40 Pa is still not enough, and it needs to be achieved by other methods. Red Queen seemed to have thought of what Zhou Yang was thinking, and said, "The preparation method of this modified single crystal silicon is very simple. It still needs to be formed under the condition of magnetic field constraint. Because the pressure is too high, if it is formed by wrapping with metal, it will cause damage to the metal. Only magnetic field constraint can easily meet the design requirements. At the same time, inside the magnetic field, use atomic fusion, just like a nuclear explosion, to form enough pressure, and at the same time, introduce single crystal silicon powder, with catalyst, complete the entire reaction process in an instant, form enough modified single crystal silicon, wrap the entire spacecraft, and form a protective layer." Zhou Yang wrote it down one by one, and asked again, "Then how to clean it quickly?" Zhou Yang probably understood the production method. It sounds easy, but how to complete the reaction in an instant, and control the energy output, to achieve the corresponding conditions is obviously not an easy task. It's also simple. Use a neutron emitter to destroy the chemical bonds of the internal oxygen atoms in a specific way and separate them from the silicon atoms, which can easily destroy the stability of the modified single crystal silicon." Zhou Yang frowned slightly. "Is it simple?" "It sounds simple." "Okay. Chapter 347 Thawing. I will give you the specific information," Red Queen said immediately. Zhou Yang nodded and thanked her, and then came to the warehouse, where the discarded parts were stored. When he opened it, he found a small room with a large number of parts scattered inside. Zhou Yang glanced at it hastily, and found nothing special. Of course, these parts themselves may be special, or they may be made of special materials. He just needs to study them later. "I'll have someone move them," Zhou Yang said again. "Don't worry, after we make a breakthrough in related technology, we will definitely help you repair the spacecraft." Red Queen nodded excitedly and said, "If you don't understand anything in the future, feel free to ask me, and I will guide you." Red Queen felt that the people on Earth were too stupid, or that the technology was too backward. If she didn't guide them, she didn't know how many years it would take to help her repair the spacecraft. After leaving the spacecraft, Zhou Yang immediately arranged for people to move the materials and receive the information. Zhou Yang opened the information on destroying the crystal body and found that it was not as difficult as he imagined. The principal structure in it was somewhat similar to the atomic probe on the nanomedical machine. Take it down. Make a prototype in 3 days. In 3 days, a prototype that is sufficient for use should be completed. At this time, the dismantling of the spacecraft that was pulled back also began. First, the internal related structure should be dismantled as much as possible, and all the things that can be emptied should be emptied. The written records that Zhou Yang cares about the most are very few, almost non-existent. Since the spacecraft is large, it cannot be dismantled in a short time. Zhou Yang estimates that it will take at least 10 days to dismantle the frame. 3 days later, the prototype of the neutron-destroying crystal body was manufactured as promised. The crystals on the outside of the spacecraft were tested, showing excellent results. Where the neutron beam was irradiated, the crystals showed cracks like snowflakes, and they could be broken with a light tap. And most importantly, when the woman in the crystal body was irradiated, the crystals on the outside could also slowly break. Prove that the two types of crystals are indeed made of similar materials. Not bad. Zhou Yang was still very satisfied with this effect. Like the United States, slowly polishing with a high power laser would definitely be able to shatter these crystals, but it would take too long. Is the sterile room ready? Zhou Yang asked. Zhu Chen nodded. If the woman is released, and if there is a possibility of resurrection, it is unknown how many years will pass. The environment of the Earth will completely change, and bacteria will also evolve. Now, common bacteria may bring devastating disasters to women. So Zhou Yang specially asked people to prepare a sterile room, and at the same time, take into account the protection to prevent the woman from running wild. The woman has a mechanical structure all over her body, and who knows if she will be as powerful as a mecha. After the crystal was disinfected, it was moved into the sterile room, and the neutron destroyer was also set up. Let's start. Pay attention to the power. Neutrons can cause great damage to humans, and they are extremely penetrating. This is also the principle of neutron bombs killing enemies. After a neutron bomb explodes, the house and building will not be damaged at all, but the humans hidden in the building will all die suddenly. So Zhou Yang was also afraid that the neutron beam would hurt the woman. In the 10 square meter space, a mechanical arm stretched out from the ground, like an atomic probe, with a neutron emitter on the top. After starting, it quickly began to destroy the crystal. The whole process was not very fast, and the damaged crystals continued to spread deeper. Through artificial intelligence, the power of the neutron beam was accurately controlled. Once the damaged crystals touched the woman's body, it would stop immediately. And the first step was to clean the external crystals first, leaving a thin layer at the end, and then clean it up. Half an hour later, the external crystals had been completely removed. Continue. Zhou Yang said coldly. The mechanical arm began to reduce the power and began to accurately destroy the last layer of crystals on the woman's body. Starting from the soles of the feet, it continued upwards. Soon, everything below the legs was destroyed, but the crystals had not been knocked off, so the internal structure could not be seen. Is there a change in temperature? Zhou Yang asked. The researcher next to him shook his head and said, no temperature change has been detected for the time being. According to the test, the temperature of the crystals remained near 0 degrees, which was different from the crystals outside the Red Queen spacecraft. It might be something special that had been added, and keeping the temperature low might be to preserve body tissues. So even if you want to thaw it at that time, you have to slowly heat it up. Soon, the crystals on the surface of the woman were completely destroyed. Knock it open. Zhou Yang ordered, and at the same time said, control the temperature and oxygen content. The mechanical arm deftly knocked on the top of the crystal, completely breaking the last layer of crystal. The woman's body was finally exposed to the air. Zhou Yang hurried to the screen and carefully checked the data of the monitor. According to the infrared display, the woman's body temperature was consistent, close to 0 degrees, and there was no change. The most important thing was that no spontaneous breathing was detected. Raise the temperature 1 degree per minute, Zhou Yang ordered. Under the precise temperature control equipment, the temperature in the room began to rise slowly. After more than 10 minutes, it had reached more than 10 degrees Celsius. During the whole process, the woman's body temperature was also rising, but it was not the kind of temperature rise that Zhou Yang wanted, because through infrared detection, it can be clearly seen that the temperature spread from the outside to the inside. The core temperature, however, did not change. No reaction. Mr. Zhao, do you want to give it an electric shock? Zhu Chen said next to him. He said to use a defibrillator to restore the heart rate. Zhou Yang fell into deep thought. The most important thing is that this woman doesn't even have a heart. But after thinking about it, Zhou Yang felt that it might be worth a try. Women are semi-mechanical structures, so the main organs of the body should be driven by corresponding energy like machines. As for what energy source, it can't be gasoline or something. It's most likely electricity. For example, now women are like a car that has been parked for many years. The battery is exhausted, and it must be recharged and reactivated. The key is how much voltage to use, and where to discharge. The only way is to try. At this time, Zhou Yang inexplicably remembered a joke he saw from somewhere. Asked how the safe voltage of the human body is tested. Answer, HMM. It's okay. Add a little more. HMM. Keep adding. It's okay. HMM. Enough. Enough. Stop. 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 Unloading experimental equipment. Damn. How many volts was that just now? You will know how big the voltage is after trying it. Chapter 348 Successful Resurrection. At this time, the X-ray scan of the woman has also been completed. From the results, the woman's body structure, especially the structure of the head, is highly similar to that of modern humans. It can be said that they are almost exactly the same. Could it be that this prehistoric civilization also evolved from apes? Corning next to him couldn't help but mutter. Zhou Yang looked at the X-ray scan and said, "A million years ago, a monkey came down from the tree, and then humans were born. Why did other animals also come down from the tree, but did not evolve into humans? The evolution of humans seems to be full of accidents, but if we analyze it in a huge sample group, it is probably inevitable. Otherwise, so many species have evolved in nature. Why did we become humans? Therefore, it is not surprising that nature made the same choice in the same Earth environment." Corning fell into deep thought. At this time, Zhou Yang also found some clues. Through X-ray scanning, he could see the situation of the mechanical structure of the woman. The internal structure is very complex, but there are some places that Zhou Yang speculated may be used to place batteries. The most likely one should be the abdomen. The human abdomen has a large intestine and a small intestine, which are entangled in a large ball and stretched for several meters. The purpose of its existence is of course, to give humans a strong digestive ability. But the woman in front of him is already a cyborg. From a certain perspective, he may not need to eat anymore. Even if he eats, he may use machinery to replace it with a more powerful digestive system. So these twists and turns in the abdomen can be completely freed up to hold other things, such as batteries. Zhou Yang controlled the camera and zoomed in. At the same time, he controlled the robotic arm to pull open the clothes on the woman's abdomen. I don't know what the clothes are made of, but it is incredible that they can still remain intact. Pulling open the clothes, the metal abdominal structure is exposed. Although the hole is very smooth, through high-definition cameras, especially X-ray scanning, you can still see that there is a hidden space. How do I open it? I don't see the control switch. Zhu Chen frowned. Zhou Yang thought about it and said, "Let's cut it." It is estimated that it was opened by other means, and this part of the woman is a mechanical structure. Be careful, there should be no big problem. A robotic arm appeared and used laser to cut, cutting along the frame scanned by the X-ray machine. Soon, the internal structure seemed to be destroyed, and then the cut part was grabbed with a suction cup, and the internal structure was exposed by gently lifting it. The two square pieces seemed to be stuck in the body. It should be a battery, Zhu Chen said excitedly. Li Bingxuan beside him said with a smile, "How come it looks like a robot?" Zhou Yang controlled the mechanical arm and took out a battery. At the same time, he took a woman's hair as a sample. As for blood, Zhou Yang didn't dare to draw it for the time being, fearing that the woman would lose her coagulation function and bleed to death. Soon, the test results came out. First of all, the hair was found in the hair. The same double helix DNA structure as that of humans was found in the hair, and it was highly similar. Through the screening and comparison of the artificial intelligence program, it was found that out of 3 billion base pairs, about 0.06% did not match. From the perspective of DNA, women are human. At the same time, the structure of the suspected battery was also tested. Through the test of the battery density, it can be determined that this is a super large capacity battery, even higher than the Lungsum battery. It's just that it's been too long and the battery has been scrapped. If it were in the past, this would be a huge discovery, but now that humans have entered the nuclear energy age, it is not worth mentioning. In 6 hours, the laboratory urgently copied 2 batteries of the same structure. After testing, the voltage was stabilized at a relatively safe voltage of 18 volts. And for such a long time, the woman remained in her original state. The rise in temperature did not wake her up, but it can be clearly seen that her muscle tissue has regained some activity. It may be that the temperature rise has caused some signs of awakening of the frozen cells. This sign shows that this woman has a great chance of resurrection. Insert the battery, Zhou Yang ordered. The mechanical arm grabbed the 2 replica batteries and accurately installed them in the battery compartment. At the moment the battery was installed, an arc of electricity flashed across the woman's body like a stream of light. In an instant, the mechanical structure of the woman seemed to be fully activated. The next moment, the woman's body seemed to be electrocuted and stretched out as hard as possible. With a strong deep breath, the woman suddenly opened her eyes. Everyone present was shocked. Zhou Yang still looked calm and stood steadily, but he was also quite frightened. However, at the same time of being frightened, Zhou Yang was also extremely excited. He did not expect that she would actually be resurrected. It seems that the mechanized woman's body structure has indeed undergone special changes. Otherwise, after being frozen for so many years, her body should have been irreversibly damaged anyway. Anyway, Zhou Yang still believed that no one can fight against time. The woman lay back suddenly and closed her eyes, but her body began to rise and fall, and she had independent breathing. Zhou Yang and others did not dare to do anything easily, so they waited patiently. However, through the infrared monitor, it can be clearly seen that the temperature of the woman's brain is obviously higher than other parts, indicating that the body has really recovered. For a full 10 minutes, if it were not for the rise and fall of her chest, Zhou Yang would have suspected that the woman had died again. The woman suddenly opened her eyes, and her body sat up instantly. She flipped her body nimbly and landed on the ground. She bent down, knelt on one knee, and vigilantly scanned the surroundings. Zhou Yang looked at the woman in disbelief. She was sealed for who knows how many years, and just resurrected. She could move freely in 10 minutes. This is too exaggerated. The woman looked around for a while, then she shouted. The pronunciation was totally incomprehensible. Write it down, Zhou Yang said hurriedly. Li Bingxuan frowned and said, what is she saying? Probably something like, is there anyone here? Kang Ning muttered. Zhou Yang thought about it and projected his holographic projection into the room. In the room, a flash of light appeared, and Zhou Yang appeared out of thin air. The woman was startled and nimbly stepped back several meters. It can be clearly seen that the woman's jumping ability is very strong, but it should be an enhancement brought by the pure mechanical body. Zhou Yang did not speak and stared at the woman quietly. After thinking for a while, Zhou Yang pointed at the woman with his finger, and then a bun simulated by the holographic projection appeared in his hand. He made an eating gesture and looked at the woman again. From now on, the woman's situation is unexpectedly good, so the next step is how to communicate. This is actually simple, just teach him to recognize words. Chapter 349 Civilization. The woman understood Zhou Yang's meaning at a glance, shook her head slightly, and then said something. Her eyes were still extremely alert. Zhou Yang naturally didn't understand what was said. Fuxi, Zhou Yang called out. Fuxi immediately appeared beside Zhou Yang. The woman became more alert, but Zhou Yang and Fuxi both looked like humans, which didn't make her react too strongly. You come and teach him Chinese. Teach the characters first, and then talk about communication later. Fuxi nodded, and started immediately after Zhou Yang disappeared. Under the holographic projection, dynamic pictures can be used to express meaning, which is much more convenient. Starting from basic characters, there are also grammatical structures of Chinese pronunciation. The woman also understood Fuxi's intention, focused on the pictures, and began to learn. The progress of learning was not slow. Moreover, every time Fuxi taught a word, he would ask the woman to write down the corresponding expression in their characters, so that it would be convenient to make a comparison later. In the middle of the way, the woman couldn't help but reach out and touch Fuxi. It should be because she found that Fuxi didn't really appear here. After confirming that it was a holographic projection, a surprised expression appeared in her eyes. The woman seemed to have no need to eat, and she was very energetic. Even though she had just recovered, she did not feel any fatigue, and was always learning. At the same time, her learning ability was not bad. This kind of teaching lasted for a week. In the middle of the teaching, Li Xianshu also heard the news, and came to see the woman. Seeing the living woman, he was also shocked. On the other hand, the dismantling of the spacecraft has also made great progress. The internal structure has been completely dismantled, and the main parts have been completely exposed. In terms of power, as Zhou Yang guessed, it was actually a pure rocket engine. The engine design did not have many highlights. After all, human rocket engines have been studied for so many years. In the same air-ground environment, almost everything that can be studied has been studied thoroughly. The only huge difference is the fuel of the rocket engine. Inside the engine, the fuel has long been volatilized or not loaded, and it is empty. But inside the thruster, the researcher found hydrogen residue. Liquid hydrogen is a common liquid rocket propellant. But according to the design of the rocket engine, it should not use liquid fuel, but solid fuel. It's metallic hydrogen. Yi Rongming analyzed. Zhou Yang nodded and said, it should be like this. Metallic hydrogen is known as the holy grail of high-pressure physics. As a solid fuel, it has great development prospects. Moreover, the synthesis of metallic hydrogen requires synthesis under high pressure and high temperature conditions, which are similar to the synthesis conditions of modified single crystal silicon. Since this prehistoric civilization has mastered the method of quickly synthesizing modified single crystal silicon, there is no reason not to master the means of synthesizing metallic hydrogen. Although hydrogen is the lightest element and a gas at room temperature, in fact, hydrogen can also become solid under high pressure and high temperature conditions. Solid metallic hydrogen can maintain a metastable state at room temperature. That is, after synthesis, it will not immediately vaporize into gas, but remain solid. This solid hydrogen has the highest energy density among conventional substances, 35 times that of TNT, and has a super high detonation speed, making it an ideal raw material for rocket propellants. Of course, although there are institutions studying it at this stage, it is still very difficult to synthesize, especially for large-scale preparation. No wonder they can go to the moon using rocket thrusters. Li Bingxuan exclaimed. It really fits the saying that as long as the thrust is enough, a brick can fly into the sky. Apart from this, there is nothing much to study about other aspects of the spacecraft, such as the control system and weapon system. In short, this thing is more like a large space shuttle than a spacecraft. The technological content is really limited. It is a long way from the planetary spacecraft that Zhou Yang is currently developing. Zhou Yang was a little disappointed with this result. He was still thinking about learning something from this prehistoric civilization, but now it seems that there are very few things to learn. On the other hand, the woman has quickly mastered about 2000 Chinese characters and can have a preliminary communication with Fuxi. Zhou Yang also knew her name. He couldn't understand the pronunciation, but he knew the meaning, which means beautiful stars. Zhou Yang directly named her Milin according to the transliteration. Through these 7 days of communication, Zhou Yang also roughly understood some information. First of all, Milin really doesn't need to eat, or needs to eat something special, that is, nutrient solution. Her body has been modified into a mechanical body. The mechanical part relies on electricity to maintain operation and can also perform component maintenance. The preserved part of the body still needs nutrition to nourish it, but since there is no digestive system, it can only use nutrient solution to provide nutrition through the internal life support system of the mechanical structure. The second is the civilization where Milan lives, which is also the most critical thing for Zhou Yang. Through Milan's own narration, Zhou Yang has roughly understood the development history of this prehistoric civilization. First of all, what shocked Zhou Yang the most was that the civilization where Milan lived could be traced back to 320 million years ago. In this era, even dinosaurs had not appeared yet. The name of the civilization, transliterated as Oma, the Soma civilization began 320 million years ago and experienced civilization extinction in the middle. Because the climate of the Earth during that period was also complex and changeable, the environment was harsh, and the creatures on the Earth were also diverse, especially a large number of giant animals were born. According to Milan's narration, the Oma civilization was extinct 3 times and flourished 3 times until the last time, which was the time when Milan lived, from 110 million years to 65 million years ago. There was an interval of 45 million years. In such a long time, civilization has developed, technology has flourished, and humans have finally become the overlord of the Earth. At that time, the giant dinosaurs that roamed the Earth were like pets in the hands of the Oma people. The Oma people built many ecosystems and kept the dinosaurs in captivity. According to Milan's description, the Oma civilization developed to a technological level similar to that of the Earth. However, as the continents began to drift and split, multiple countries were naturally formed, and the Oma people also developed a warlike character in their long-term struggle with nature. So wars broke out again and again. Especially in the era of hot weapons, wars were infinitely expanded, and various countries began to study hot weapons frantically. Zhou Yang had always felt that this prehistoric civilization technology tree seemed to be crooked. Now I understand that it was really crooked, and the reason for the crookedness was that they focused on war and had no time to develop other technologies. Such wars lasted until 65 million years ago. This special event suddenly reminded Zhou Yang of the asteroid impact that led to the destruction of dinosaurs. In fact, the asteroid impact also led to the near destruction of the Oma civilization. Chapter 350. The moon base is completed. The next step is the turning point. Milan sat on the ground, her tone gradually becoming heavy. Although I didn't experience that day, I have seen a lot of information and image records. A huge asteroid fell from the sky like the moon, burning with hot flames. The sky was illuminated, as if it was daytime, and the huge explosion could be heard even from hundreds or thousands of kilometers away. The atmosphere seemed to be torn apart, and the billowing dust and smoke crushed straight into the sky, and did not fall for a long time. That impact directly caused the demise of a country and the tragic deaths of hundreds of millions of people. The impact also triggered a series of natural disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, etc., which caused huge indirect casualties. One city after another turned into ruins. In front of nature, human beings are so small. Zhou Yang couldn't help but feel the same. Even now, human beings are so small in front of the Earth and the universe that they are not worth mentioning. What happened later? According to our research, the smoke caused by the asteroid impact and the explosion covered the Earth for many years, and then the Earth entered the Ice Age. Zhou Yang said. Milan nodded and said, yes, it was the Ice Age, a long and endless Ice Age, with no sun all year round. I was born at that time. But the disaster did not defeat us. The survivors of the world, all the countries, united together for survival. We considered many methods, such as cleaning up the dust in the atmosphere, but the results were minimal. At this time, some people proposed to emigrate, leaving the Earth, and heading to Lucas Star. This Lucas Star is an Earth-like planet we discovered before the catastrophe, about 40 light years away from us. Zhou Yang's eyes lit up. 40 light years. This is already very close. Where is it? Zhou Yang asked hurriedly. As he spoke, a star map appeared beside him. Milan shook her head and said, I only know the approximate location. More than 60 million years have passed. I don't know whether Lucas Star is still in its original position. As he spoke, he pointed to an approximate direction. Zhou Yang wrote it down. As long as he knew the approximate direction, it should not be a problem to find it. However, humans have also observed the universe for so many years, especially after the emergence of radio telescopes. Humans can see farther, not to mention tens of light years. Even millions of light years can be detected. If this Earth-like planet still exists, it should have been discovered long ago. When the spacecraft is completed, we can get the technology of space jump. When this technology is completed, 40 light years will be nothing. Just look for it. Zhou Yang thought to himself. Millen continued on the other side. We have prepared a detailed plan and have been preparing for many years. All scientists have joined together to study spacecraft that can fly farther. Our plan is to use gravity slingshots to fly away from the solar system. Zhou Yang nodded slightly. If the Oma people want to immigrate to Lucastar with their technological level, the only choice is to use gravity slingshots. Only in this way can they escape the gravity of the sun. The so-called gravity slingshot, in simple terms, is to use the gravitational field of the planet to accelerate the aircraft. As long as the calculation is proper, the aircraft can reach a speed infinitely close to the speed of light. 40 light years away from Lucastar. Even if they don't use a hibernation chamber, young people can reach their destination. What about you? Why did you stay on the moon? Zhou Yang asked. It seems that the moon should be the outpost built by the Oma people. Those spaceships are probably the reserve team or something. Milen's eyes flashed with a sharp light, and she said, even if you are at the end of your rope, there are always some fools and stubborn people who stick to their own opinions and think about their own little tricks. Zhou Yang understood it. As soon as he heard it, Zhou Yang stood up and didn't ask any more questions. Millen was stunned and said, if you have any more questions, just ask. If you need the science and technology of our Oma people, although I'm just a soldier and don't know much about these things, I can give you guidance. Technology. Zhou Yang shook his head and smiled. No, you are free from now on. Do whatever you want. I have no other questions for you. You can first understand our current human society and then consider what to do next. No matter what you do, just tell my people. Zhou Yang really didn't care about the little technology of the Oma people. It's enough to know the existence of the Oma people and know that they went to Lucastar. Free. Milen's eyes widened, looking at Zhou Yang in disbelief. Zhou Yang nodded, and his body disappeared. The discovery of the lunar base by the Oma people was just an episode for Zhou Yang. After determining that there was not much research value, he still devoted himself to the original plan. The construction of the space base is still going on. The specific progress can be seen every day. In a flash, half a year has passed. The outer shell of the lunar base has been built. Zhou Yang received an invitation to go to the lunar base to attend the groundbreaking ceremony of the lunar city. On the day of the ceremony, Zhou Yang took Chen Ruoyan, Zhao Tong, his parents, and Zhang Bo's family on a special plane to the lunar base. Now there is no need to wear Zhou and Yuan to go to the moon again. The spacecraft has not been made, but it does not prevent Zhou Yang from simply modifying Kumpeng. With such a large cargo hold, the interior is decorated, and a set of 3 constant systems is added, and 2 transparent portholes are opened. It is almost a spacecraft. Chen Ruoyan took little Zhao Tong and looked at the huge Kunpeng in front of them. She couldn't help asking, is this thing safe? Zhang Bo on the opposite side was eager to try it out. He couldn't help but touch it and said, since it was made by Zhou Yang, safety is definitely not a problem. Zhou Yang picked up little Zhao Tong and said, don't worry. If it wasn't 100% safe, how could I take you with me? And it can be regarded as adapting to life in space in advance. I estimate that in less than 1 or 2 years, we can migrate to space. Immigrate to space, forget it. It sounds scary. Li Gizhi shook her head with some fear. Father-in-law Chen Tao was very excited. He took Zhou Yang and asked, Zhou Yang, from what you said, are we going to live on the moon in the future? Zhou Yang nodded and said, Dad, if you are willing to live there, I will ask them to leave a house for you 2 old people. The lunar base, as the first completed space base, is not only used for scientific research, but also has plans to experiment with space migration. Soul living areas are also planned inside the base. There are not many houses, so they have almost been booked out long ago. But if Zhou Yang asked, it would be easy to get 2 houses. Okay. Chintao nodded excitedly. Legacy beside him shook her head and said, "Do you think you are change, living on the moon? There is no place for you to live on the earth. If you want to go, go. Anyway, I won't go. It's said on TV that the space is not very big. I'm afraid there is not even a place to grow vegetables." Zhou Yang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Only an aunt from country Z could grow vegetables in a space base that invested an unknown amount of money. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.